honestly, fuck them.
You
know,
know
the listener.
We're live now.
Folks, we just did the funniest 30 minutes of the podcast we've ever recorded, and you missed it, and you'll never hear it, and we don't care.
Yeah,
we're too cool. Anyway, we're stupid.
If you're joining us right now, we're late, and that's my bad.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to sneeze
really all of us.
bad. Okay. Yeah, it is January 21st. This is episode 76. I'm going to speed run through the introduction here. My name is Michael Deebs. I'm the host. Joining me is Danko Suvin from the Instagram handle @DankTheLuz. Also joining us is John, the producer from the Instagram handle @Discopathic, which posts nothing and will never do anything. And John is going to one day disappear in the woods. And then we talked a bit. I hit the recording button instead of the streaming button is what has happened.
Yeah.
So we did 5 minutes of empty content that will only be accessible on the audio version of this podcast only.
Only accessible on the $300 a month tier on the Patreon.
We're selling the funniest 5 minutes we ever did on the podcast through the Patreon. The way you access it is by becoming a super member, which is $300 a month.
In cash.
Yeah, in cash.
Yeah, under the table.
Yeah.
Also accepting Bitcoin.
The real minor literature.
Well, we never got to the pleasantries, so no. I'll start with John. John, how are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, no, it's great to feel confident in the fact that you're good at your job.
Okay, normally actually a producer would be the one running all this.
Hey,
and me as the host, I am a delicate flower, which you have to cultivate my talents.
He has very soft hands.
Oh yeah. I mean, you are my boss, and you never assign me those duties.
Yeah, that's true. It's not because I don't trust you. It's because I think you're incompetent.
That's true. He's told me about it.
Yeah, several times now. That's not true. John, everybody loves you. I love you also, because if I didn't love you, then people would be angry with me, I think.
I'm actually a little uncomfortable with how much Mike loves you. Like, he brings it up more than he should.
Yeah.
I hope everyone likes watching me try to adjust
during
things.
Quays, too.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
He's like looking me in the eye and just saying, John, I love you. You're the coolest producer I know.
I picked the whitest guy to play
Yeah. Well, that's what makes it hot, really. It's subversive. It's a role reversal thing.
Speaking of, Danko, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, actually. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, things are all right. How are you?
Man,
expected me to say something.
I'm in a rough spot.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah,
I
hear it's heroin this time.
It is, and it was, and
no,
it will
be. My son is on heroin, and I go every day to this job that I no longer feel anything for.
It's a moth joke.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do it. I can't do the Shaggy Dog stories like Norm Macdonald can.
I do a good Shaggy Dog.
We were actually just talking about how you did a 3-hour Shaggy Dog joke, and I'm pretty sure that was when we drove together to Louisiana.
Oh, yeah, shit, I did one of those there, too.
Yeah.
I was talking about one where I was driving my girlfriend to L.A., so I guess I've done a few very long jokes.
To people who you...
Purportedly love.
Yeah, purportedly. You claim to love these people.
I do. I'll continue to claim that I love you, and, well, you.
Which, speaking of things that we love, the viewer and the listener.
Oh, yeah, them.
Yeah.
Let's abuse them with our first topic of the day, which is John, did you watch Eternals?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
Yeah, good job.
So Dorian and I watched Eternals. We don't have to go to the first link yet.
Okay.
We had to wait a long time to access Eternals because it wasn't showing up on Disney Plus, which is the streaming service I use, in an HD format. It was weirdly uploaded to Disney Plus as a
camcorder,
a shaky cam footage recording
Blair Witch Eternals.
Yeah, in a theater. So we had to wait for the HD version to become available, and it finally became available this last week. And so I decided to watch it because there was a bunch of hullabaloo, if you will, about Eternals being what's the word, review dunked, or what do they call it?
Oh, people are just reviewing it all bad. The critics.
Yeah, well, it was specifically because it was one of the first Marvel films that was directed by a person of color and a woman, and then also there was a gay couple.
Hold on, really quick. So we're talking about the intersectional identity, right? Because Black Panther had to have been done by a person of color, right?
It was.
Okay, I had to make sure, or I was going to start.
It was.
Crying.
The reason I wanted to watch this film is because there was this liberal outrage sort of thing going on where it was getting really bad reviews, and people were hypothesizing that it was because a woman, person of color, directed it, and then B, there's a interracial black couple or not interracial black couple, an interracial gay couple. Didn't mean to conflate those two things. An interracial gay couple that's featured in the film.
There's also, and maybe it's not officially this, I'm sure there's some libertarian word for it, but there's also a one-sided pedophile couple.
That is true.
So,
yeah.
But it's the kid that loves the dude.
Real Lolita, is that?
Yeah, they're using anime logic where the kid is like 1,000 years old. So
that's exactly the vibe I got from that. Why I didn't like it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and they fuck a bunch.
They do not do
fucking
that.
on the beach.
That is not something that happens.
No, but I didn't know any of this.
Oh yeah.
I
didn't either.
And so I'll just tell you that the fact that I am a racist and misogynist has nothing to do with the fact that I didn't care much for this movie. I thought it was.
When I finished watching it, I put it in the the Discord chat that we have for our secret podcast stuff. I called it a dog's ass of a movie.
Yes.
And I stand by that because I would actually rather watch a dog rub its asshole on the carpet.
At least that's funny.
Yeah, that would be funny. That would have some kind of character to it. This was just atrocious and annoying and stupid.
Well, lack of character is maybe the best way to describe it, right? Because it's this entirely flat, almost 3 fucking hours of too many characters who are both like not explored and also way overdetermined. It's a weird, absent movie.
Yeah,
it's just bad. And I'm saying this as someone that, I mean, I don't like Marvel movies or superhero stuff generally. I liked comics when I was younger. I still kind of do. So I'm like superhero agnostic or apathetic, right?
Barely believe in them.
And I liked Black Panther fine. I thought that was pretty good.
I still think Black Panther is the best one that's ever come out because the villain is believable and you actually agree with the villain.
The villain's interesting and complex, and you have to like think about the relationship between the villain and the hero.
It's not some bullshit Malthusianism garbage like Thanos' story arc.
And because it's such an obvious answer when you deal with Malthusians.
Yeah.
But I did like one of the Avengers movies, actually. I forget what it was called, but it was the one with the trash gladiators and Jeff Goldblum. I thought it was funny.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I didn't think it was a fine piece of cinema.
No.
But it was charming. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
But those two, and like the first Iron Man I liked when it came out. So
Yeah,
I'm not like anti-Marvel hero stuff, but this movie was a fucking garbage fire.
Good. I'm glad we agree with that.
Just extraordinarily boring.
I think we also agree with what Marvel movies were willing to accept viewership of.
That's fair.
So my Eternals review.
Nice. All right, let's do it.
The first thing I wrote down was 1,000,000 bajillion years ago. ... Who cares?
Yeah.
Because that's how it starts. Is like I don't know, 700,000 years ago,
Wait.
7,000 years ago.
Wait, so is it an immortal gay couple?
It's an immortal, like 30 people.
What?
Yeah, the
And
gay couple is actually interracial because one of them is eternal and one of them is not. But also one of them is black and one of them is some kind of
One of them
vague
is
Middle Eastern.
Oh yeah, I just my brain was so fucked by watching this and like
Yeah.
forgetting it as I was watching it
Right.
that I forgot that not both of them were Eternals.
That's why I kept kind of like a running log of what I was
should have,
watching.
man.
The second thing I wrote down was this cast sucks.
Angelina Jolie as a superhero is so fucking cringy.
Yes.
It is bad. She
Yeah.
is not good at stuff now, or maybe ever. I don't know if she
Well,
was ever good. Now that I think about it,
it's a
It's just
losing
bad
role
casting.
to begin with.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's like, we are the Eternals. You know, we live forever.
Like, no one can save this, but the casting is bizarre.
Yeah, the casting is bizarre because, and we'll get into why the casting is also like extra bizarre.
Because Harry Styles.
Yeah, Harry Styles at the end, which is why.
It's just, that's the most Marvel part of the thing.
Yeah,
It's just like
I
Harry
guess
Styles
so.
appears at the end and goes, "Wow."
his name isn't Harry Styles in the lore.
No, he's a god of some sort or an
Yeah.
eternal or
He's
something.
Eros, also known as Star Fox.
Oh yeah, he's the god who fucks.
Yeah.
He's like the twin of Thanos, probably.
Right.
I would guess based on that. Or
So-
like, yeah.
The next thing I wrote down, there's like a montage of them through time, right?
The whole
And
movie feels like a
Well,
montage.
the whole movie has like a ton of montages in it, but there's like we arrived on Earth and now we're protecting humanity for like a couple thousand years or whatever montage, right? Every other fucking scene in that montage is them rescuing a kid and then like disappearing and like,
Yeah.
oh no, we
I
don't
was-
interfere with human affairs.
And they have a lot of like white Babylonians and shit.
Yeah,
Like it's
well,
kind of really hard to be woke, but they are really convinced that they need to like there are white people in all parts of the world at all ages,
yeah.
which is a little weird. Yeah.
Also ahistorical, probably.
Extraordinarily ahistorical. Yeah.
John, you were saying something?
Well, I mean, like, but the white people are is it just the gods are white people?
No, that they're just
No,
like
they're
people.
multicultural.
Yeah, just
True.
all of them are
Yeah.
weird. Like they're photos that some kind of like Silicon Valley company would put out to represent the people that work for it. That is the makeup of every single civilization in this movie,
Oh.
depending on of time or location.
Fucking what is it? Shit, I can't think of the word. Not B-roll. What is it? The open free shit on the internet.
Yeah,
That,
like stock
photos.
images.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it feels like. I mean, it
stock-
also feels cheap. Yeah, all of the historical stuff feels like it belongs in a TV show. Like it feels
yeah.
feels like something that should be on HBO.
Does.
I mean, I relate to
Um,
stock models. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, same. Yeah.
The next thing I wrote down is, oh, okay, the Eternals did everything in human history
Yeah, all
actually,
of it. Everything.
which I spelled as ACKSHUALLY. Actually.
That's how you're supposed to spell.
Because it's that fucking annoying where they constantly remind everybody that they talk to that no, that was actually us, sweaty. There's a deleted scene which I think
Oh.
should have been kept in
Oh.
because it just highlights how fucking annoying these fucking people are. But Sprite, which is a real character,
Which is the kid, right?
the kid, yes. It's right when the guy from Game of Thrones, I forget, Kit
There's a guy.
Harington.
Oh, him.
Yeah,
Is that his real accent?
I think that is his real accent.
He sounds like shit. His actual voice sounds like a fake accent.
You know, I'm
that
gonna get into
sucks.
the accents later, but
Okay. They're all bad.
they're all horrible. But there's a deleted scene where they're in this museum, and Sprite, for whatever reason, like doesn't keep any fucking secrets about who they like. Circe, the the character that is dating Kit Harington.
Oh, can we really quickly get in the names? Just a quick note about the names.
Let's go ahead and go with the names.
The names are all names where you immediately know like what they're supposed to be, but they're spelled in dumbass ways. Apparently, I looked it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And you have like Icarus, but it's spelled with like a fucking K and shit.
Ikaris.
And
these are in my notes.
Yeah, and like the movie is. They should have just spelled it right. They decided to be cute about it later. Where
no. See, no. This is the point I was going to bring up. This deleted
I'll let you do your thing.
This deleted scene, Sprite is talking about like, oh, this isn't actually a saber-toothed tiger skull. This is a deviant skull.
Shut up.
Yes. That's why I was glad that I saw this deleted scene, because the director wanted this to be in the movie, and it's just fucking annoying. So, Sprite is going around and she's like pointing at all these skeletons and going like, oh, that's not actually what you think it is. It's actually a deviant, which the Eternals were made to kill the deviants. The deviants were made to keep some kind of like balance of life and death. But they went too far.
They're homosexuals, deviants.
Which a funny point, the original... I started looking into this because I sniffed out some weird things, but the original Eternals comic book was made by Jack Kirby, who served in World War II. Oh. And it's highly hypothesized that the deviants are actually kind of like supposed to be the Japanese.
Sure.
But that's neither here nor there.
What else did Jack Kirby make? I know the name.
I don't remember exactly. I'm not that deep.
Someone in the chat, let us know.
I don't think anybody's in the chat, honestly. I think we're speaking to an empty room right now.
I mean, yeah.
I don't have the self-awareness to stop, so I'm going to keep pushing through.
2 people will watch this later, so they'll comment.
Yeah, they'll comment, and I'll forget to ever look at their comments.
Yeah, never read the comments.
We love you very much, viewer and listener. Honestly, if you want to talk to me, hit me up on Instagram. I talk to people all the time on there. I just don't care about the YouTube or SoundCloud stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Athena.
The place where you consume us.
She spots a statue of Athena, and she runs over to it, and she's like, they never get the details right on Athena. And Kit Harington's character is like, don't you mean Athena?
Well...
And Sprite goes, it's just Athena. Drop the A.
Yeah. So the only reason they cut that out, I'm assuming, is because they do the exact same thing at the end of the fucking movie.
Yes.
But
the fact
is that they twice?
The fact is that they put it in there twice.
Why would you write that in twice?
Exactly. Why be that fucking annoying? Why not just call the character Athena? And I'm going to make a point here that ties into the rest of this with like the names of the characters being weird. They didn't care about maintaining the integrity of these characters, so there's no reason about the original character is named Athena in the comic book, right?
Okay.
So let's go through this list of names. We have Icarus. Icarus is spelled with a K and an A-R-I-S.
Icarus.
Ajax. Obviously,
Ajax.
Yes, it's based off of Ajax, originally male. So they didn't care about maintaining the integrity of like the genders of these characters or anything like that, but they cared about maintaining the integrity of like the dumb naming situation where they just wanted to be fucking annoying.
I mean, the real problem with Ajax is that if you don't have an Odysseus, who gives a shit?
Well, yeah. No. I'm not saying
real character.
I don't care that the gender swap happened.
Yeah.
It's the point that like, why make these decisions in this way?
Well, no. But what I'm saying is that they're decontextualizing these figures to such a degree that, I mean, I guess just name them Bob and Julie anyway,
right?
Because also then we might be surprised by their character arcs.
Exactly. Sure.
Instead of, guys, this is crazy. I said this joke to myself, like out loud as I was watching this. Icarus ends up being the villain, right? Icarus is a bad boy. And he flies up into space during this battle because he got sad.
Yeah.
He gets sad during the final battle. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna fly into the fucking sun.
And then he flies into the
flies
sun.
in the fucking sun, which is also the opposite of what is supposed to happen with Icarus. He's supposed to get too close to the sun and then fall into the ocean, not fly up from the ocean and into the sun. Anyway, he suicides by sun, which is that is the only moment in the movie that I laughed.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Which is cool.
The only emotion I had was laughter when I was supposed to be feeling like sad because this character killed himself.
Yeah.
The worst character
like,
in the movie, probably.
It's like the best part of that Miss movie when he kills that car full of old people and children for no reason.
What movie is this?
Oh, The Mist.
The Mist.
Yeah.
I thought you said The Nest. Yeah, when he shoots them all, then and he's like, and then the cop.
And then everything turns out to be fine. He's like, I just murdered everybody.
I actually like that movie though.
Yeah, it is an all right movie.
Yeah, all right is about. Yeah,
Let's go through the rest of the names. We have Druid.
Yeah.
Which I assume is supposed to be based off of Druids.
Yeah.
Which are like a whole group of people.
Yeah, well, and he also controls people.
Yeah, his superpower is he can psychically control people, but he's not supposed. That's the fucking. Why does he exist? He only exists as a way to like force a philosophical question in, because his one power is that he's able to control people, but every time he does it, they tell him you're not allowed to you have to give people free will.
Yeah.
So he only exists so he can be shut down. He's fucking pointless.
He is kind of a villain in the original comics, which they did not make him out to be.
Yeah, he's like almost a villain in this, and then he's the good guy also in the end. So he's like almost. It's not even that he's nuanced. It's just that he's just inconsistent. And
so like not even in self-defense, he can control people.
Well,
I mean, he still does it.
He wants to save humanity from itself. It's a whole thing.
Oh, okay.
He just does it for like a split second at a time, and he's like, okay, never mind.
Then we have Sprite. Sprite is played by a young lady.
She's a 3,000-year-old dragon in an anime girl's body.
Yeah. Sprite was originally a male in the comics. Again,
she's pretty androgynous. I wasn't sure what she was at first.
Well, it's implied that it's female.
No, yeah. By the end,
I'm saying like they didn't care about maintaining a lot of the integrity of these characters. So why did they stick with these goddamn stupid names?
Oh, just because everything is references to these people.
Yeah. Then we have Phaistos, which is obviously
Hephaestus.
Yeah, Hephaestus. He's the guy that makes technology and stuff.
Yeah. He's the
face toast.
Cersei, who I guess is kind of like the main character, all things considered.
Yeah.
And like I don't have any notes on her because she's just fucking boring.
Yeah. Well, Cersei's just supposed to be a sexy lady living on an island that Odysseus, again, who is absent, hangs out with for a while. So I mean, I guess that's fair.
Sure. Then we have possibly the worst name in this like avalanche of shitty names, which is Kingo.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Kingo in the original comics was some kind of weird samurai guy. In this he's an East Indian actor. I mean he's one of the Eternals, but what he ends up turning into is an East Indian actor who shoots firebolts.
He's like a Bollywood guy.
He's a Bollywood guy who shoots fire bolts out of his fingertips instead of having like a cool samurai sword. Why would you change that?
That's also the weird thing about the movie is that I know the powers of like 3 of them.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I have no idea. Like, they all have this Superman thing going on, I feel like, where it's just like, they just do a thing.
Well, they have the Batman tool belt, is what I call it.
Yeah, there you go.
Where you just happen to have such a power and just such an occasion.
When you need it, you have laser vision. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one is Makari, who has super speed and was also originally male.
There was a super speed person in the movie?
Yeah, the fast deaf girl.
Oh, she was fast. Okay, that's
you might not have like really paid attention to her.
I just thought she's a deaf girl that seems more than human. This movie made me stupid.
It did.
Yeah.
And then we have like the celestial that they follow, which is Erishim, which is, I don't know, just a dumb sounding name.
Yeah, and it's just I couldn't watch the movie without thinking of Deadwood.
Is God? I want to know if God is a lesbian with a guitar.
God's a robot.
Yeah, God's a robot.
Oh. But the Celestials in Deadwood, that's a slur that they use for Asian people. And so I was just like, oh, okay.
I haven't watched Deadwood, so I didn't know that.
Good show. It's pretty good.
Yeah, because of the racism, right?
I mean, it's pretty funny. Got pretty funny racism. You like Cumtown, you'll love Deadwood.
So the note where I had all these names, I wrote the names in general, all their names, and then after that I wrote, I do not care about any of these people.
No.
There is nothing mildly interesting at all in this film, and it's so long. Accents are all over the place. These dorks can't do anything without being annoying. This is just Avengers, but excruciatingly lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the character of Icarus is basically just Superman, but he like sucks and isn't like nearly as invulnerable.
And with Icarus, okay, so this drives me crazy about him, which is that the first time that we see him, we have Cersei standing there looking out into the vastness of space. I think this is the first time. Maybe I'm wrong. And then Icarus comes up to her, and she says, "It's beautiful, isn't it?" And he says, "My name is Icarus."
Yeah.
And at first I was just thinking, oh, he's supposed to be like an autistic robot man. That's going to be his character arc, is that he's awkward and he's like a Vulcan.
Oh.
And no, it's just written really poorly.
Right.
And because he is an incomprehensible character. Nothing happens with him that makes sense, because every time they make him say or do something that's kind of interesting, we then realize, oh, I have no reason why he would do that.
So yeah, he plays the stalwart like character this whole time, and then it turns out that he's been hiding a secret this whole time.
Yeah, he's known all along. Which the secret we need, this fucking thing.
So it turns out that the Eternals were sent to Earth not to necessarily protect it, but to kill the deviants who would kill all human life. But the thing is that it turns out that a celestial is supposed to be born inside of Earth, and so the reason that they're supposed to kill the deviants is because the deviants will kill all human life, but human life is necessary as like a sacrifice for the celestial to be born.
So that assumedly they can make more Earths or things like it, so that they can have more celestials.
more galaxies, or universes. I don't know. It kind of like either or sort of thing happens here.
Wait, so like humans fuck, and then a celestial is.
Well, they need to have a lot of souls, is basically what happens.
Yeah. It's like the Matrix, where if you have a bunch of people in pods, they make power.
Basically,
but with souls or whatever.
More or less correct. Yes.
But the entire philosophical conceit of the film is this idea of so should we allow the celestial to destroy Earth and kill all the people so that we can produce way more lives in the future, or do we let human beings survive? And we, I guess, just have human beings create a lot more lives in the future?
Yeah.
It's an entirely pointless, mindless, fake philosophical question.
It's really, really bad.
There are a lot of movies that ask boring philosophical questions, or the same ones over and over again. You know, the Malthusianism question in like the Avengers and stuff. But this one's not even a question. No. It's a false premise. It pisses me off so much.
It really just sucks.
And if you just modified it a little bit, it could be made into an interesting question.
Right.
Like it almost becomes an antinatalism kind of argument, which again, you know, whatever. But at least it's mildly interesting. You can say some things about it. But yeah, they just fuck it up. Jesus.
So let's try to power through this, because I have a couple of links that will contextualize some stuff. The next thing I wrote down after leaving a space blank, I don't know why. I wasn't even like drunk when I wrote this down. I was just like,
you just stroked out for a second.
Yeah, I was reading something. I was kind of watching it out of the corner of my eye, and the next thing I wrote down was, oh, cool. It's one of those solutions fall out of the sky movies.
Oh yeah.
There's no like rhyme or reason for how powers develop or anything like that. It's all like, we need a solution to this problem, and then either some like, I don't know, technological thing strikes
Yeah.
space dose, or Cersei just randomly gets a new power.
One of those solutions fall.
And it's the same thing with all their problems.
Yeah.
Their problems and their solutions are both like this. The movie is totally contextless.
Right. And then let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing was that I wrote. This is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they didn't interfere with humanity all this time because humanity needed to grow, in order to produce more souls so that the Celestial could be born. But then they do nothing to stop Thanos, who ends half of all life in the entire universe. So like, how does that help the Celestials when something is actively ending half of all life?
And,
so why weren't they there to stop that? Because,
and they bring up the question too, and guess what their answer is? They don't have one.
Yeah, they don't have one at all.
They essentially say,
that's why this frustrated me so much, because they like address the issue and then they just like, or they don't address it. They bring it up and then they don't address it. And it's like, you're fucking insane.
Well, it's
why would
the
you do that?
What's a good metaphor for it? I don't know. There's no good way to make this make sense in any context. It's like, why do you beat your wife? So, well, I do it so I won't need to.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what?
I do it so nobody else can.
We needed more lives, and so because everything's on a trajectory, it's like everything's teleologically oriented. That somehow we magically knew that the Thanos thing would work itself out. I guess like that's.
But they have no way of knowing.
No,
that because Erishim doesn't talk to them for like thousands of years.
Yeah, and also, why would we ever assume that this being that we know nothing about, apart from it having like a bunch of bright red eyes and it being a giant robot in space that I guess is floating there next to a clock,
right,
or something? Why would we assume that it? I don't know. We just don't know anything.
Yeah,
and that was something that was really striking about the movie to me, is that I'm really happy about films where I don't know what's happening to some degree. Like, I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. Like, I don't think that the world or the universe needs to make sense, and I think you can make something really great while recognizing, things don't necessarily have to make sense or have motivations,
right,
so long as we make it a little interesting. But the movie is saturated by this concept that, no, it does make sense, though. It does. Yeah. You should see that it makes sense. And it just doesn't.
So that's the review.
Shit sucks.
Let's go to the first link. Because I've known people who are nerds my entire life.
Whoa, that's hot. What is that? Yes. Oh, you're amazing.
Scroll up just a little bit, John.
That's fucking.
Yeah, it is fucking. Scroll up just a little bit. All right. So, I have never heard about the Eternals before this film came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm somebody who has, read a couple of comic books as a kid. I've known people who are like deeply into comic books my entire life. I have literally never fucking heard anybody say, "Oh yeah, I love the Eternals comic book series." And the reason is that so when we talk about like why it was reviewed really poorly, nobody fucking wanted this film because the comic series itself was canceled after 19 issues.
That's pretty bad.
This is a Cracked article, but it was like one of the more like comprehensive like researches. Of course, Cracked did deep dive research on the fucking Eternals comic series.
Thanks, Cracked.
Yeah, but many have compared the Eternals to Guardians of the Galaxy, another Marvel franchise no one gave much of a crap about until Hollywood came.
Guardians has some interesting-ish characters.
Exactly, Guardians has characters. But here's the thing, even those guys had over 120 issues under their belt before the first movie. Eternals has like half that, despite starting around the same time. You could probably read every Eternals comic in one sitting during it. Whatever, dumb joke.
I mean, that's actually a really great point that I don't think they're quite making, but they point towards it, which is that we apparently have given away our power over constructing media to people that are really good at consolidating existing stuff in order to make some kind of plot and make sense of characters because they get to know them.
Yep.
But no one that is able to do something even from like, from scraps or scratch.
Yeah.
Like it's just people. I don't want to be that person that's just like, oh, fucking movies are bad now because people are bad at writing. But certainly, like the Marvel
it's
shit
not that
and
people are
DC
bad at
and
writing.
everything.
It's that only badly written things are getting funded now because they might be able to tickle some like nostalgia or something.
Yeah,
like
I mean that's a big part of it. But I really do feel that
Tickle
people
some profit.
are. Yeah, but you can have a profit-driven way of making things that might have some kind of decent quality to some degree. But yeah, it's just I really feel like all sorts of different social pressures have led us to a point where people kind of just don't know how to build narratives.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows about the monomyth, but no one's able to write it out.
It's complicated.
Yeah,
Jordan Peterson could probably recite it.
He could.
We'll talk about him later. Scroll down underneath the ad there, John. Kirby's original run was canceled on issue 19, and that's the longest Eternals series to date. After that, Marvel has tried everything to get readers interested in the concept, and nothing seems to stick. In 2003, they even put out a gritty reboot with HBO levels of nudity and gore, but not even the promise of boobies on a Marvel comic could push the series past 6 issues.
Wait, what? There was a 2003
Yes.
Eternals?
This has been rebooted several times, and it never
Wow.
fucking sticks because all the characters suck and nobody likes them.
Also,
That's why this movie got bad reviews, because all the characters suck and nobody likes them.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. But the image that's currently on screen for the listener is really remarkable. It is a man
the
who
worst
has
sex scene you've ever seen.
It's pretty gross. Like a man who is he's like hyper muscular in the comic book way, but he seems to have a bunch of holes in his body, I guess.
He's also got like a giraffe's neck.
Yeah, it's really strange.
With like an Adam's apple that's like the size of like 2 of my fists put together.
Yeah, and he's like clearly nutting inside of what I didn't recognize was a person before because it's not good art.
Can you read the dialogue?
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
But the dialogue is the worst part, which is as the man, I assume, ejaculates, going, ah! Which is fine. That part of the dialogue makes sense. That's what I do every
Look
time.
how veiny he is.
He's so vascular. He's like a cock.
He's
he
like
is
a big
penis
cock.
and
He is a
stuff,
cock.
Yeah.
But the woman is saying, yes! Oh, you're amazing. I love it when you're inside of me. Which are all, I've heard a lot of awkward things said during sex, and sometimes people just say weird shit. Like, I don't know, weird accidental role reversal and shit. Like sex can be a weird time for weird things being said, and people, especially if it's good, which clearly she's having fun, you might be saying something that doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense, but yes, oh, you're amazing. I love it when you're inside of me is what a woman would say when she's bored.
I took it as sarcasm.
Well, yeah, because the man has an exclamation point, and then she has nothing.
Yeah, it is periods.
But periods at the end of her sentences.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You're amazing.
Yes,
I love it.
I've had to practice this for the last 20 boyfriends.
Yeah, maybe that is what's happening here. Maybe it's good. Maybe this is
and that's not a comment on her promiscuity. That's a comment on male sexuality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and go to the next link. Which
guys,
is,
I'm so lonely.
Yeah, same. My girlfriend won't talk to me after I started a podcast, which has been going on for 2 years now.
That's good.
In the spirit of Eternals being rebooted constantly and being shit and nobody cares about it, Eternals 2 may never happen, even though it was clearly set up for an Eternals 2.
Oh, of course it was.
Time is like a flat circle, and it is repeating itself here with the Eternals.
What a... Also, okay, so this picture has what I assume to be all of the protagonists, and so let's count them really quick. 1,
more than
2, 3, 4, even though that's probably half of a person. 5, 6.
Oh wow.
7, 8, 9, 10, and I think people are missing.
No, that's all the main.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I just realized,
10, not including love interests.
we went through all the names, and I completely forgot Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I thought you didn't mention Gilgamesh because I missed something about him not actually being an Eternal or something.
No,
Okay.
I just completely forgot his name because he's really just kind of a nothing character. He punches things.
Yeah.
Also, it's weird that his name is spelled accurately.
Yeah.
When like every other character's name is not spelled accurately.
Well, he's the first story, so he's the only one that gets spelled right.
Well, and then also like the mixture of pantheons here, but also like I mentioned earlier, it's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where you have Thor and Odin and Loki, like actual pantheons that are established.
Right.
And they even reference it where like Kingo's saying like, "Oh, Thor used to like try to hang around me all the time as a kid, but you know, suddenly he becomes famous, and now I don't matter to him anymore." And it's like, what pantheon is even happening here anymore? Kingo is not a part of any pantheon, as far as I know.
That I don't necessarily have a problem with.
It's just dumb
and
annoying.
Like the whole thing is dumb and
it's dumb and annoying.
But the thing that really pisses me off is that if you're gonna have a Gilgamesh, and you don't have like a extraordinarily furry Enkidu to hang out with him, that is such a fucking waste.
Well, it's like having Ajax
without Odysseus.
Without Odysseus.
Bullshit.
Right. It's like having Icarus without It's like having Icarus without
his dumbass dad.
Yeah, his dumbass dad. Daedalus. Thank you.
We're educated men.
Yeah, it's all these. It's Circe without
again Odysseus.
Odysseus again. You're right. So all these weird secondary characters from pantheons that are on equal footing with like primary characters from pantheons.
Why isn't
the primary characters from pantheons are spelled incorrectly?
And Athena never busts out of a guy's head.
That's true, which she should.
She should. That would be really funny. Actually, if they just made that one change where she busts out of the weird giant robot guy's head, the Celestial's head, I would give this movie
a whole point increase.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, like I'd give it a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, which is
pretty generous.
Yeah.
Actually, 3 is maybe too much. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go to the next link, which is one that. Oh
man, this one's beautiful though. If we can get it,
there we go.
But right before we move on, I will say that
say your last piece.
Yes, that Mike and I, just to be clear, do not agree on everything. We are not saying this is a bad movie to agree with one another. It's fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the new Matrix movie.
Oh, well, you're wrong.
See? Exactly. So we are capable of disagreeing. Just so people know.
You know, I'm scheduling some episodes with John on bringing down the Grindhouse, and maybe we need to have a Matrix debate at some point on there.
I'm actually going on to Schizotopia to talk about the Matrix series and one very special film that you may not expect. But we will have an opportunity to have this argument indirectly or otherwise. But shout out Bringing Down the Grindhouse and shout out Schizotopia.net.
Love those people.
Those boys. Yeah,
I think they're all boys.
Well, Bringing Down the Grindhouse has a lady on it.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Token lady.
Which is more than what we have.
It is.
Yeah.
We just have John.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got hair like a lady.
We've had ladies on.
We have had ladies.
They've never come back though, have they?
I think we've had Lee D on.
No,
We've had
Megan.
Oh man, yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, we did it, guys. We made it to plural.
They never come back.
Plural women.
We'll have them back.
Yeah.
Why would they?
Yeah, have they ever contacted?
Yeah,
One of them straight up ghosted us.
Yeah, well, one of them we weren't really like friends with, but the rest of them we still talked.
Yeah. Okay.
It has something to do with.
It's a little bit more formal in speech.
Yeah, I think most of them just aren't interested in the middle-age crisis, which is starting a podcast.
Yeah.
True,
because they're well-adjusted people who have like things to do and reasons to live.
Yeah.
Let's
God bless.
this article.
Anyway,
though,
this article is my reason to live.
This article is one of the most hilarious things I've read in a long time. I actually read it before you sent it in. I was considering putting it in the podcast, but then you linked it, and I was like, all right, let's fucking do it.
Entirely necessary. Yeah.
The headline is a lot.
Yeah. Florida State Board of Administration official killed in apparent road rage shootout.
You might be thinking. The Florida State Board of Administration guy is probably a victim in this circumstance.
But no. The guy that shot him is a fucking hero.
Yeah.
Driving what I think was a Prius?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So scroll down to the body of the article so we can read this and zoom in a little bit.
So if I am remembering this right, we can just read it. Read it. But it's amazing. Shall I?
Yeah, please. You linked it.
Oh, thank you. A spokesman for Florida's State Board of Administration was shot and killed in an apparent road rage incident last week near Tallahassee, because of course, according to law enforcement and news reports. The driver of a Prius fatally shot John Kozwanski, 52, outside of Circle K.
Can I stop you real quick?
What's up?
I read his last name as Kuxwanski.
Sorry, Kuxwanski. You're right. You are right. So what happened is this fucking guy bumped into the Prius, and they both pulled over. And apparently, yeah, if you want to scroll down just so I know I'm getting this right. So they both pull into a parking lot. The guy in the Prius ends up getting back into his car, waiting for law enforcement, and then Kozwanski ended up ramming his BMW, of course, into the Prius on the driver's door. Yeah, I remember all this now. And began pushing the car sideways in the parking lot. Then Kozwanski then shot a gun into the white Prius. Imagine this bald, doughy-looking fuck in a BMW is slamming into your driver's side door, shooting at you in your Prius. And then
I would refuse to die that way.
Yeah,
which
well,
I think
he did.
is what the Prius driver does.
So the Prius driver ends up pulling out his gun, and with one kills this guy, and then dumps himself out of the car and hides behind the door. So he is clearly, this is a CIA assassination, is what it is.
A CIA assassination where you goad the driver of
a BMW, which is not hard. I've probably been in shootouts with BMW drivers. I just don't remember them.
You goad the driver of a BMW into ramming his car into yours after a simple traffic accident where you're just trying to be responsible and like wait for like an authority to show up.
You're making it sound like that's not realistic.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
But if you wanted to kill a BMW driver,
look, my real question is, what won't Hillary do?
Yeah, I know. what did Kuxwanski do? Or no?
What I love most about this article, and this is maybe cruel to an extent, but if you could scroll down,
is that he died.
Well, yeah, he died. He just got fucking wasted after all this.
Yeah.
But his wife, Rebecca Kuxwanski.
Yes.
His wife, Rebecca Kuxwanski, posted on Twitter on Sunday that John was the victim and lost his life. His family deserves time to heal in privacy. Why not report the shooter's name? The man who assassinated him.
Hey, that was an assassination.
Our whole lives are shattered, she continued. The children and I, his friends and family, So many who adored this wonderful, kind, loving man who would do anything for anyone. We are all devastated. The world has lost a great man.
Yes, clearly.
According to all eyewitness accounts, Kuczynski is the aggressor in this
Well,
circumstance.
of course, if you find a gun in a BMW, you know that it's whatever happened is their fault.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm pretty sure that you go to redneck hell if a guy in a Prius kills you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. It's like
You
how
go to a lot of hells.
Vikings need to die in battle.
To go to Valhalla.
Yeah, go to Valhalla.
Yeah, no Valkyries were there that day.
Yeah. He was yanked directly to hell, and he's never gonna make it out of there.
Hell is just being stuck behind like a smart car.
What you know, also what's so amazing about this is you know, her like aiming and ballistics and like body structure and everything, and like the way that this is being framed, where, you know, the BMW is ramming into the driver's side doors, so he's like T-boning him, right?
Yeah.
He has direct line of sight.
Exactly. It should be pretty fucking easy to kill this guy.
He has direct line of sight of the driver, and he fucking misses while trying to shoot this guy.
Whereas the Prius driver is getting T-boned,
He's
so
got
he's
to
like
turn to the
shocked.
side,
Yeah.
and then like
He has to get a hold of his gun while being rammed into, turn over to the side. I'm sure there's some kind of like deformation of glass in space going on here.
For sure.
Yeah,
So
well,
pretty difficult to orient that.
Like the Prius guy is either very lucky or a really good shot with
He's an operator.
with specialty ammunition.
Look,
Oh right, yeah.
I don't want to boast here,
Mhm.
but I drive a Prius. So, I don't know. Ram your BMW into me. I don't own a gun currently.
We'll see what happens.
Probably won't be able to shoot you, but I'll be mad about it.
It's a little known fact that every Prius has a gun underneath the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never checked under there actually. So.
Yeah, it comes from the manufacturer.
Yeah, it's got a 357 Magnum sitting beneath every seat.
Oh my God.
With solid nickel penetrating rounds.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I am ready to kill any BMW driver. All right.
So-
Yeah.
The year is off to a very strong start.
Let's go ahead and go to the next link. Speaking of strong starts.
Oh no.
Oh.
Y'all want to see the bad lady suck at an interview?
Kamala?
Yeah, the bad lady. Like
No, did I do it right this time?
Oh,
I
Kamala.
tried.
Yes.
I genuinely
Yes.
tried. Thank you.
Kamala. Yes.
I did it,
you're
guys.
Correct.
It took me about a year and a half.
Mattis,
but I
can
did
you
it.
drive a Prius too? This bump. Yeah, Prius gang.
Yeah.
We don't have a gang
Vi-
sign. Our gang sign is the 357 Magnum that's stored underneath all of our chairs.
And honestly, your car is the only Prius I suppose I've driven.
And it's a nice car, right?
Yeah, it's smooth. I like it.
It's good.
Yeah,
Good car. Fuck the haters.
I guess I like Priuses. What are you gonna do?
I'm not saving the environment with it.
I'm a liberal
It just saves me a lot of gas money. Kamala Harris gave an interview, which was bad because all of her interviews are bad.
because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she looks like she's watching somebody like take a shit on a desk. Like that's how upset she
Well, the
looks.
guy is questioning her, so. And the problem is that he's also a person of color, so she can't be like, racist white guy.
She's had really bad luck with these POC interviewers recently.
Yeah.
And interviewers in general.
This guy, I mean, and this guy is kind of just like a Libby nerd or whatever,
Mhm.
but, you know, this guy, I don't know his name. I don't care his name. And then Charlemagne the God, the rapper. Let's go ahead and roll this for a bit.
This week we saw a record number of hospitalizations.
Yeah, turn the volume up.
And children. We've seen the infection record broken. I think a lot of people are scratching their heads and they're wondering, 1 year into this administration, why aren't we doing better in the fight against COVID?
So let me start with saying that people are rightly frustrated with where we are.
We're
frustrated.
shit.
We're all frustrated, but I think it's a mistake, and it would be a mistake to suggest that we've not seen great progress. If you think back to March of 2020, we were all wiping down the boxes that we got if we ordered things online.
Because we still cared and didn't know how the virus worked.
Yes.
Effective and boosters. Now we have our children back in school. 95% of schools are back open.
Yeah, with schools having like breakouts
These are
all the
good
time.
things.
Yeah. Go ahead and pause real quick.
Masks for a second. It's been several
She's talking about kids back in school.
They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be, but also the problem is that there's no fucking teachers in Oklahoma right now.
Using cops.
In Oklahoma, they're fucking using cops,
Incredible.
and the cops, of course, aren't teaching the kids anything. The cops are just there to like maintain like an authoritarian presence, so that the kids just stay in their fucking chairs. And
to be fair, what else is a teacher supposed to do? I guess.
A teacher does nothing else but maintain an authoritarian presence, of course. No, and then the other thing, like these cops are fucking armed.
Yeah.
You're maintaining order with children as like a fucking chud.
How funny would it be though if there was a school shooting at one of those and they only killed like 4 or 5 armed cops? Like a 5-year-old comes in and just.
Dad said all cops are pigs. I'm Dad. But yeah, no, we have fucking cops watching some kids in some states. I know of Oklahoma. I'm sure there's probably another state where it's happening.
Doubtless, yeah.
But like, you know, touting this as like a win is insane. It's sick because I know several teachers and all of them are saying like, yeah, most of the staff is out in one way or another, and you know, we're not really like most of the kids are relying on substitute teachers. Nothing against substitute teachers. They play a vital role in like education a lot of times, because teachers can't always be there every single fucking day. But substitute teachers ultimately are just like, yeah, kids, go ahead and work on your homework, and you know,
we're gonna cart the TV back in again.
Yeah, if you have questions, you can ask me, or we're gonna cart the TV in, and you'll watch something educational. Hopefully educational, not Airbud. but
I apparently went to worse schools than you. You went to home.
Yeah, I was homeschooled, so ooh, that's a weird lore object to bring out here.
Explains it.
I was homeschooled until the end of high school.
Was your substitute teacher Pat Robertson in the 700 Club?
Unironically, yes. Thanks for bringing that up too.
It's like I homeschooled myself for the last couple years of high school. So.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about being homeschooled in a religious environment, you can look at the religious deconstruction videos I did. I talk a lot about that. It's more personal to me. Less shit. More. I can't stop shit posting, but it's more personal.
I have an emotional.
But you know, the schools are like empty of staff. They're barely being taught anything.
Yeah.
The only reason that kids are back in school is because parents need to go to work.
Yeah.
And school is implicitly kind of like a daycare program for working parents to take care of their kids while they're at work.
No, people don't recognize that enough.
Yeah. It's not necessarily that it's there to like teach your children. Yeah. And right now we're seeing like the emphasis being placed on it's a daycare program that's cheaper than a lot of like you know, actual daycare programs or like nannying fees that you would have to pay, whatever. It's an easier solution than having to pay for all that, because it does have government subsidies. It's cheaper, whatever. And it kind of just covers that whole like there's no coincidence. Like children shouldn't be in school for as long as they are every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no coincidence that basically a child's entire like school day is the same amount of time as an adult's work day. It's intentional.
Yeah. And let's also not forget that you know, when it comes to the fact that it's cheaper than getting babysitters and stuff, one of the reasons for that is simply because when you end up pooling resources, things tend to get more efficient and less costly.
The economy of scale.
Yeah. So I hear contradictory things in the news, but I guess I don't yeah, I guess I don't know whether or not they're related, because which I get, kids should, it's probably not great that kids don't get to socialize with other kids.
Sure.
Yeah, no,
but
that's
dying of
unfortunate.
of a fucking epidemic level disease might also be bad. But so there, and they always talk about like lost learning, which is, I'm guessing like the propaganda, because they don't actually give a shit about that. But then you'll also hear about like record like numbers of people successfully completing academic pursuits, or like learning a language, like the amount of people that like learned a new language like went up like 300% or some stupid number.
Yeah, because people had time to, like, I don't know, when things were shut down and people were actually like getting some kind of relief money through like unemployment or whatever, people realized that they were actually like capable of like learning and doing things, and like kind of experiencing stuff on their own without some kind of institution like directing them. And yeah, that's always been true of humanity. That's how we got to the point we got to in academia and other things.
Like shit. The only reason that we were able to become advanced enough to invent the nightmare of capitalism is simply because people do like to invent and do and discover things.
Yeah.
Jesus. But I mean, that's another reason that to layer on to, we are in school for 8 hours when we're kids, to match up with the amount of time that your parents are at work, theoretically, even though kind of, people need to work
works
a lot
for the
more.
middle class.
Right, exactly. But the reason that people work as much as they do as well is because, thankfully there's been some kind of, agreement struck through unions and things of the sort, but it's because it's literally pretty much the most that you can get most people to work and not dissolve into a pool of their own shit is 8-9 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. And but then obviously like a lot of people are just working 30 hours a week at 2 jobs, but yeah, and so with the pandemic happening, the reason that people are able to do things like read books or learn languages or follow my meme account, which is the only reason that it like gained any followers, is because of this kind of thing. No, genuinely, I think that's why this all happened. It's like, who the fuck wants to look at a Deleuze meme account? Oh, it's because everything collapsed and people have time to think about things for a moment, and so they're like, I'm gonna do this. But it's because they're no longer being strangled to death, and instead just strangled by debt. But at least that's a passive thing happening in the background.
Well, and the other thing is that they're being strangled by debt, but they can look to the left and the right of them, and they can see, oh, everybody's being strangled by debt. I really can't be held accountable to this in any way. So I might as well just like do whatever I want.
Yeah. Like the basal immaturity of having constant panic attacks about the fact that you're going to die.
Yeah.
It's only viewed as a basal immaturity because of the fact that that's true of everyone. Like, it's actually a catastrophic thing. It's the worst, maybe the worst thing that'll happen to you if you're pretty lucky. But the fact that it happens to everyone makes it so that it's tolerable.
I deal with the terror through doomsday prepping. That's what
I just jerk off 4 to 6 times a day.
Same. Well, also same.
Which is what I call doomsday prepping.
I mean, you can do them both at the same time.
It's true. I mean, generally they're related.
Maybe you should call it Coomsday.
Let's just call it masturbation.
Let's roll the rest of this. Let's roll some more.
My dick is raw.
Acknowledge that cloth masks, surgical masks, they're not as effective in terms of stopping this new variant, Omicron. Should Americans be wearing KN95 masks or N95 masks?
Well, the CDC is going to be providing us with those guidelines.
But what's
according-
taking so long?
Well, the CDC is making their decisions. I don't make the CDC's decisions. But what I will say is what has been clear about masks is you want to wear a tight-fitting mask. Absolutely. And we want to urge everybody to do that. In terms of the N95 masks, they are available. There is a stockpile of I believe, over 700 million of those masks. So the supply is there as necessary and as needed.
At what point does the administration say, you know what, this strategy isn't working? We're going to change strategies. 6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter urging the administration to change course, to change strategy. Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
Jesus Christ.
Every day it is time for us to agree
What?
that there are things and tools that are available to us.
Could you pause it?
Down. And so
That really should be the like rallying cry of like center liberals.
Yeah.
It's time to do what we always do, and that time is every day.
It's
Like,
time to agree.
brunch. You're just saying brunch in a lot of words. Amazing. I actually hadn't seen this interview yet, and so I knew that this quote was her, and I knew she said it at well, obviously it said it at some point, but I had not seen it in context, and damn, that rules.
We wake up every day and we do the things that we're doing, and that's a thing that we do every day, and it's going strongly.
Yeah. Man, you just mixed fucking Kamala and Trump in an amazing
I don't
way.
care. I think it's,
No, I mean, I
think
don't
they're
think it's-
analogous to
Yeah,
each other.
I was going to say, I don't think there's a reasonable difference, but
I think
meaningful
I think that the reporter might be throwing her off intentionally, though, with his with the fact that nothing on his body matches.
yeah, those
Like,
fucking socks with the
yeah.
shoes, dude. That's gnarly.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
also he has like a
and that-
single
that
ear
tie.
piercing. If
He
you
has
look
a what?
closely, he has a single ear piercing.
Yeah,
So like
How
even
do
his ear piercings are like uneven.
his
I've
pocket
watched it,
square
like,
is a
5
different
times,
color
is how I know
than
what
his tie. This is
Yeah.
what's fucking Kamala.
Yeah, he's got
That's-
green tie,
yeah,
lime green
pocket square.
pocket square. Thank you. Blue socks, and then
Like-
tan shoes and a black suit. Like none of this.
And they're
matches
bright
in this.
blue
Yeah.
socks.
The only
dude.
thing that matches actually is his shoes and his face.
Oh,
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, his shoes are a little orangier.
Yeah, he's wearing skin-colored shoes.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
weird.
I
Yeah.
Maybe
like to
those
wear-
are just his feet and what we're
Yeah,
not.
I like to wear nude shoes. They should be tabby shoes with little toes.
Oh,
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. With those blue socks. What a
Yeah.
combo. Anyway, that guy sucks, but at least he's asking the real questions.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
sort of asking real.
Yeah.
Kind
I know.
of.
That's really all we need to get out of this clip is Kamala Harris's. We are waking up every day and we're doing the stuff, and the stuff is being done, and that's it.
Sorry, I gotta write down a meme idea
Yeah, write down a meme idea.
because I'm
You need a
using my
pen?
phone as a camera.
There's a pen for you, buddy.
Thanks, pal. See, usually when I look down, it's because I'm making a meme, but now I'm looking down to write a meme,
Yeah.
so nothing has changed. Go on.
Let's go ahead and go to the next link. We haven't talked about Ben Shapiro in a while,
Oh,
and
man.
it's because I find him completely uninteresting, completely disingenuous, and basically a giant piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He sucks.
Um,
Is he totally disingenuous?
he's totally disingenuous.
Yeah,
There's
he's pretty
yeah.
disingenuous.
there's no way he
Well-
fucking believes anything.
Well,
he says.
disingenuous plus religious leads to some weird in-between ground a lot of the time.
Probably.
Which I say is someone that is maybe the most accepting of religiosity in the group, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that he's so disingenuous that that he's aware of his inferiority complex?
No. He doesn't believe he has an. He's disingenuous in the arguments he makes. He has a very clear agenda, and he understands when he's treading on agenda points that he shouldn't be getting into because they undermine his his ideology, which he is intentionally pursuing.
Mm.
It's not like an ideology that's like, oh yeah, this is just what I believe in. It's an ideology that's being intentionally pursued. And so
Yeah.
what he does is he alters all the facts in order to suit that agenda rather than like interpreting those facts genuinely in a way that like, oh well, you know, because I believe X, I end up also believing Y.
I mean, again, Althusser, the more you stand outside of ideology, the more you stand within it.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, do you think that he's being disingenuous about his like belief that he's smart because he like graduated college at the age of 17?
no, he definitely believes it.
Yeah, he totally believes that.
okay.
Here's my
Yeah.
question is, does he believe it when his doctor wife pretends to come?
Without a doubt, because that would undermine his like.
I
belief
don't
in
think he
himself.
believes women can come.
Yeah, okay.
That's probably
there you go,
that
there you
might
go,
be what
there you go.
Yeah.
he would actually say that she's faking it, but only because a woman can't actually come.
Yeah, you just got wetter. Do you have any infection?
Yeah. Should I take you to another doctor because you're a doctor?
That's
But
when
this is
that's when he gets a rabbi to fucking suck the evil spirits off his dick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to the pussy doctor, my rabbi. Rabbis are pretty pimp, though, actually. They could be pussy doctors.
Yeah,
wanna
they ever
be a
watch
rabbi
that
pussy
movie,
doctor.
the Hebrew Hammer.
Yes! Yes.
Yeah, the Hebrew Hammer got fucking laid.
I used to collect bizarre CDs. Like music that was good, but also just weird shit.
Do you like
and-
CDs?
I CDs nuts.
You got me.
Yeah. But one of the ones that I had that I loved because everyone hated it so much and it was just so bizarre was there was a Hebrew national album that they made.
Like the hot dog company?
Yeah. And it was a nightmare. And the album art was hysterical. It's exactly what you expect it to be. It's like hot dogs in the shape of like a Star of David and shit.
What?
Fucking incredible, dude. Yeah.
Wow.
Like,
Well-
it's better than the best VHS I've ever seen. Like, that shit rules. Anyway.
So this is Ben Shapiro making weird points about China.
What?
And like I said, I don't care very much for Ben Shapiro, and I don't think he's very interesting, and I don't think he is
He is
even
super
worth
boring.
like. I don't
Yeah.
think he's even really like worth critiquing most of the time because of how obvious his like grift is.
I've
in a
been
lot of
so
ways.
surprised. I have flashbacks to like 2014 and 2015 all the time where I knew so many people that would genuinely come to me and say, man, Ben Shapiro and Milo are pretty good. They're
What?
pretty good, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I worked at a Home Depot and my friends were military largely, but I mean, you guys experienced
That-
at
that's
least
the
a chunk of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the fact that, I mean, those people exist. People really think Ben
he's-
Shapiro's a smart guy, or did. I don't know if that's still true, but probably.
Yeah, I just
people
don't want to.
still-
You don't want to give him credit.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want.
you shouldn't.
I don't want to
I mean,
lend
he
him the
sucks.
credibility of like addressing him because I
Yeah.
think he's like such a childish, dumb.
Well,
fucking-
it's like one of the reasons that we haven't historically spent a lot of time talking about Trump, because it's like, yeah, he sucks.
yeah. Everybody knows he
Yeah.
sucks. Even the people that like him knows he sucks. They
Yeah.
just think he sucks in a good way.
Exactly. He's a BMW.
Um,
Yeah.
God, yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
So Ben Shapiro's gonna say some things about China, and we're gonna probably see some really obvious contradictions in what he's saying, and also like he's kind of giving China some credit in some regards.
In like the fascistic, they're awful because they're so strong, because they're weak in a way, or
yes,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Called it. What up? People don't think American conservatives are fascists.
Go ahead and play it.
The planned U.S. diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics will only escalate China's growing enmity toward United States culture. And corporations are just going to keep surrendering on this. And here's the thing. China has to use its leverage. So just as the Soviet Union was a second-rate power masquerading as a first-rate power, China is a second-rate power masquerading as a first-rate power. They are not an economic powerhouse. China
Pause for a
is
second.
an extraordinary...
Does any Soviet Union?
Everything-
Does anyone believe
every-
that? Is that the people that beat us at every mark in the space race except one, and like advanced from being essentially like a feudal state to an advanced industrialist country within like a decade.
Just as the Soviet Union was a second-rate power masquerading as a first-rate power.
Like the only way that you can argue that they're second-rate powers masquerading as first-rate powers is if you disagree with Ben Shapiro and everything and think, oh, actually, we need a safer, more regulated series of industrial complexes that stop us from building the way that China does, or stop us from having, nuclear power plants in the way that, like, we had in Chernobyl or something like that, because that's what allowed them to advance so quickly, but also the things that made them catastrophic in so many ways, because they didn't have things like this massive like regulation and shit that Ben Shapiro hates anyway.
Yeah,
right.
Which is actually like kind of interesting, because like they'll talk about like the shittiest parts of like Chinese infrastructure, but then like which you can like see
they would love here.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, exactly, because like the government like just like leaves an area. And fucking because they put all their focus on like making like some like crazy fucking like cross continental like power transmission fucking substation network. And then meanwhile in these small cities, like they're building 8-story buildings on foundations made out of aluminum cans.
But you also assume
that's because there's no regulation in those areas at the time.
But that's also like semi-intentional, isn't it? Like to some degree, where it's just like be as reckless as you can and grow as quickly as you can, because ultimately it's good for like our development and our economy, even if it's bad for the people.
Yeah.
John, real quick, could you check your Discord like input?
Discord.
Because the videos are coming in kind of quiet.
All right.
Check it out.
Sorry to do this, but this is the second video now that's been like way quieter than I think.
We're very disappointed in
you. You know what? I think because I might have been fucking with my Yep, I was fucking with my audio. And I lowered this app.
John the producer strikes again.
Okay, so I think that'll work.
This is what he looks like when he's fucking too. Shapiro.
Fairly large population.
Yes, that's way better. Yeah.
Right.
Also that. He also looks like that when he's fucking.
Yeah.
Is this working for you?
All right.
Inform me.
Go ahead and play it.
They've opened up their market to the extent that they have been able to take hundreds of millions of their own citizens out of abject poverty. But the simple fact of the matter is that China is not a widely prosperous country. China's GDP per capita is still about $10,500. And that is their GDP per capita. The United States GDP per capita is currently $63,500. So our GDP per capita is about 6 times that of China. And Canada's is 4 times that of China.
Well, yeah, except like isn't the majority of people don't make $63,000.
Yeah, the problem about using a GDP per capita is that it does nothing to talk about the distribution of wealth in the country, which I'm not saying that China has like a good distribution of wealth either. It's probably a little bit more equitable than,
I mean, they're
than
socialized to some degree.
They are socialized to some degree. What's amazing about this is Ben Shapiro will speak to people who basically make fucking dirt, and somehow they'll believe that the GDP per capita of my country, because he's using a very specific statistic that makes America look good, which is GDP per capita. But it does nothing to address the fact that there's massive wealth inequality in America.
Yeah.
There's massive hunger in America. We saw it during the pandemic where there's lines of cars outside of food distribution centers.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, which is the simple fact that your GDP, because the dollar is the reserve currency of the world, is such. But how far does the American dollar go in your country? What are you able to purchase to keep yourself alive? Like, how much is rent in like China?
The
Probably significantly less than in
the
like San
problem
Francisco.
is that he's looking at the GDP and not the real economy, which is
exactly.
your
Again,
actual
without context.
Yeah, your actual ability as a human being to buy things you need in the economy, which is the real economy. The GDP has nothing to do with that.
GDP is an international metric for interactions of that sort.
Yeah.
Not for interactions of
It's gross
can I afford
domestic
to eat?
product. It's what your country is making through exports and imports.
Yeah.
It has literally nothing to do with whether or not you can feed your children.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a really bad metric, but he's going to go on to talk more about how China has used and mind you, Ben Shapiro is a capitalist, and he's like, China has abused capitalism. It's like, well, maybe that means capitalism is a bad system if it can be abused in this way.
I would point out one last thing about the numbers that he's
Ben
giving
Shapiro a liberal now?
as a good way to exemplify how wrong these numbers are, which is that I was literally looking at these numbers today, but in order to be considered middle class in most U.S. states, you have to make, I mean, it differs wildly by state, but if we're talking about the low end in some of the poorer states, we're talking about mid to high 20,000s, which is still, not very much money at all. But we're still talking about a world where people are still in those contexts struggling to become middle class.
Yeah,
and
that's like Booney's bumfuck rural Alabama. But
we're still talking about entire states where people aren't able to make enough to be considered middle class, like in general, but because of the fact that we have people that make $500,000 because they got some kind of gig at I don't know,
building
engineering thing,
bridges that fall down.
Raytheon, right? Because we have people working at Raytheon, or because we have people making like millions of dollars, it ends up throwing all the numbers off. So that like the upper end of middle class in most U.S. states is like anywhere between 100,000, like 150,000. Which is insane, because I think of someone that makes $100,000, and I think you are very well off.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's none of the numbers represent actual experience of the economy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Continue playing this, please.
UK's is 4 times that of China. So when we're talking about economic powerhouses, if you're going to rank countries by GDP per capita, the simple fact of the matter is that China is ranked on a global level in terms of GDP per capita, according to Worldometers, below Libya, Montenegro, Mexico, Thailand, Azerbaijan, and Iraq. Okay, so China is not a
probably
global
being a site
economic
that he
power.
won't respect for like COVID stats, but he will for like his weird political.
But also, what's funny is he's the claim he's making here is that China is manipulating America's elite through economic means.
Yeah.
And he says China's not an economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's worse by GDP per capita to all these other countries, but somehow it's still manipulating all these things. It's not an economic powerhouse. It's just having a lot of economic power right now.
Yeah.
Which is one of the dumbest fucking arguments that's ever been made in the history of mankind.
But and it's even dumber than that. Excuse me. But we're also talking about, it's not surprising to anyone that China is an economic labor powerhouse.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that we know them as being.
Duh.
But they're also a financial powerhouse in the sense that they end up owing a huge amount of debt, which, again, a reminder to everyone that is confused about this, because people generally seem to be, we owe more to ourselves than we owe to China.
Yes.
But
we actually owe like 90% of our debt to ourselves, and maybe like 5% of it to China.
Yeah.
And then the other 5% that's missing there is just dispersed around a bunch of other countries.
Our international debt is mostly to China, and so people think that we owe everything to China. But the last thing is that these people are constantly complaining about, or they finally got tired of it for a while because no one can explain what it means, at least on that side. Talking about how China is performing currency manipulation, which we don't necessarily need to get into, But if they're able to manipulate currency, they're able to manipulate the functionality of debt, and they're able to manipulate labor power, then it seems like they are the economic powerhouse, which I wouldn't necessarily say is the case. But if we are working off of the worldview, then they are.
Yeah. So Ben Shapiro's worldview is China is manipulating everything.
And making everything.
And
they owe everything.
Yeah. they make everything, they own everything. But they're not an economic powerhouse because their GDP is low.
Yeah.
GDP means absolutely nothing to your ability to buy food for you and your family.
Yeah. Also, John, can you look up really quick what the population ratio is between the US and China? I'd be really curious to also see like the GNI, like the gross national or the GNP, sorry. Because
it's like, caps lock on, John. GDP.
I thought you said
GNI.
GNI.
Is it gross? No, it's GNI. Why did I say that right and then think I fucked up? So I'm drinking.
These are not good numbers that we're looking at. We're just looking at
just China. But yeah, like I'm
I forgot to put something in there, Drew.
but ultimately, I mean, those are good growth numbers anyway. Like it doesn't matter that much. But the fact is that China has a huge amount of people.
Yeah.
Significantly more people than the US does. And so when we're talking about economies of a certain size, that needs to be considered, right? And I don't know. It's all these numbers are manipulated, and he's stupid.
As a fun little aside, I looked up like hunger statistics between China and the US.
Yeah. You mean things that might matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, your ability to put food on your table for you and your family. China and the US kind of actually have comparable hunger statistics. Not anything that I would call like, one of these countries is doing better than the other.
Yeah.
But
if you have that many people and your GDP is that much lower and you have comparable hunger statistics, it sounds like you're doing pretty well.
Yeah. China is not the don't bother looking up the insecurity statistics.
Yeah, finding out numbers ad hoc is
it takes a lot of research because you're gonna find like clearly agendized sort of
the Heritage Foundation is gonna have
you're gonna find a bunch of statistics that are bad. I look for legitimate sources, and it kind of turns out that like both countries are similar in hunger.
Right.
Which isn't great for either country.
No.
I'm not a huge China stan for any amount.
A lot of things you can be critical of.
A lot of things you can criticize about China.
A lot of things that you shouldn't be because it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, and GDP is not one of them. Yeah. And a lot of things you can criticize about the U.S. and GDP is not one of its winning statistics because of how wealth inequality works in America. Let's play a little bit more of this because Ben just, I don't know. I don't know how to say he's just one of the dumbest, most disingenuous people I know. Or know of, sorry.
Except that they have tons and tons and tons of people. And they can use that leverage in order to force people to do what they want. They can use the pressure points that are inherent in capitalism to get particular corporations to bend to their will. And this is what they have to do. In the same way that Russia has to invade surrounding countries in order to demonstrate to their population that the country has a future and that they're a muscular player on the world stage, even though the fact is that Russia is indeed a second-rate power with a second-rate economy and a decrepit military structure. Right? Russia's GDP per capita is also quite terrible. Russia's GDP per capita right now is on par with China's, about $10,000 per person. Right? Those are bad numbers. Okay, but all these countries have to demonstrate they're muscular on the world stage. What China has figured out
Why
is
do
that
they love the
using
word
its market,
muscular so much?
Well, because he's not, probably. I don't know.
Well, him and what's his fucking name? The guy with the tiny face and the big head. Charlie
Kirk, yeah.
He's also got that weird like muscular class. They love the muscular.
Continue.
Anyway, yeah.
actually create the perception of widespread power, and using its massive military, can threaten surrounding countries. Which would mean that the best way for the United States to fight China would be on the economic stage, in the same way that we fought the Soviet Union. If we did not foster vast economic connections between ourselves and the Soviet Union in the middle of the Cold War, that would have been incredibly stupid. It would have made American companies dependent on the Soviet Union. And yet the entire West fell prey to the belief that if we started to plant McDonald's in China, somehow this would overthrow the Chinese Communist Party. That, of course, is untrue. It turns out that dictators can take advantage of
Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put some McDonald's over there and we'll make it work out.
Continue, please.
the
just
open
keeps
markets
hurting.
to enrich themselves and create a cadre of overlords who are able to suppress the rest of the population. And this is exactly
Wait, is he talking about the U.S. or China?
Yeah.
We don't know anymore.
Oh, this is Ben Shapiro's cumin face.
Oh yeah. That's too much cumin. Right there.
Oh man.
It's spicy.
Was it as dry for me as it was for you?
Known fact: Ben Shapiro only dry comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dust. It's like a Mr. Burns cum shot. Ropes of mist.
Just talcum powder.
We'll only watch a little bit more, but let's continue.
exactly what China has to do, because China has serious problems. China is only a threat to the West insofar as the West allows China to be a threat to the West. That's the reality of the situation, because China internally is extraordinarily weak. According to the New York Times, China announced on Monday that its birth rate plummeted for the 5th straight year in 2021, moving the world's most populous country closer
Also
to
been
potentially
happening in the U.S., by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Well, and
Birth
if
rates
they weren't-
everywhere are plummeting.
though.
Yeah, and if they weren't a threat, why would we need to defend ourselves against them?
I mean, they were a threat
Or do anything
yesterday, and
about
they
it.
will be tomorrow, but not today.
Yeah.
The
Not-
birth rate thing, though, I think is a lot more severe for China. But I haven't looked at numbers for that recently. But it also doesn't matter.
Well,
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
They're also a bigger country than we are, so they can
Right.
deal with birth rate issues.
That's kind of what I
Well,
was getting
yeah.
out there.
Well, I think that the problem I think it's in a lot of Asian countries, not just China.
Japan for sure has a huge birth rate problem.
Well, but I mean, one of the problems is that like nursing homes, I'm pretty sure are
Oh, yeah.
only for the affluent.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
In most places, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like there are nursing homes that technically a middle class family with both spouses working might be able to put one of their sets of parents.
It's
in a
also nursing
in
home,
America.
like after working with them, I can tell you, but we'll just kill you.
Yeah, no, that's that it. Like, I've got a friend who's a doctor, and even if you're, because they put 20-year-olds in nursing homes.
Yeah.
If you cannot take care of yourself long term, you get put in a nursing home, and even if you're in your 20s, it is going to shorten your lifespan drastically.
Significantly, so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, you will die in that nursing home. The longer you stay there, the less likely you are to leave. But either way, like if you're fucking, I don't know, 82 and nobody can take care of you or whatever, or can afford to. But like one of the problems in Japan is there's nowhere for old people to go.
Yeah.
They can't go live with their kids and stuff like that. And and from what I understand, the birth rate affects that, and you know how terrible fucking society is.
Right.
Mostly.
Financialization bad?
Yeah.
What? On this podcast?
Yeah, because nobody can take care of their parents when they're senile and elderly.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, I mean, you look at the like, I forget exactly what they're called, but like essentially the age graphs of various countries, and some of them are really fucking funny.
Yeah.
Where it's just like huge top side, like they're top heavy graphs where it's just like everyone is like 60 years old, and then like they don't have any people that'll be able to take care of anything. It's very, very funny.
And sad.
Yeah,
We're
that's why it's
required
funny.
to say.
And sad. But again, one of my maybe offhanded arguments against antinatalism.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I like pyramid schemes.
Natalism is a pyramid
It is.
scheme.
It kind of is. Like I will give you that.
In a financial, well, you don't have to give me it because I'm not an actual anti-natalist.
Well, no, I'll give the royal you that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just want to make that clear. I'm not anti people having babies. I just think it's
you probably won't do it.
Yeah, I won't do it.
I mean, that's the thing. I probably won't do it either.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think coming is cool, and I think babies rule, and I think life is hard, but probably worth it.
We live in a society.
We live in a society. We live in a society. Sorry, I shouldn't be so positive on this podcast.
Could you please play a little bit more of this, John?
Yes.
Seismic moment when its population will begin to shrink, hastening a demographic crisis that could undermine its economy and even its political stability. The falling birth rate, coupled with an increasing life expectancy that has accompanied China's economic transformation over the last 4 decades, means the number of people of working age, relative to the growing number of people too old to work, has continued to decline. In other words, they have a social welfare structure that is completely upside down. It is no longer a pyramid. It is now a top-heavy pyramid. And there are not enough
That's
people
why
at the
I
bottom
wanted
of
to play the
pyramid
rest of
support
this,
all the
because
people
he
at the top of the
knows.
pyramid. This could result in labor shortages, which could hamper
we don't
economic
have to
growth,
watch any
reduce
more of
tax
this guy.
revenue.
He fucking
Good.
sucks. All of his points about China are bizarre considering the way American life is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
China, the main takeaways are China is not an economic powerhouse. China is manipulating everyone in America through their economic power.
Not a threat. We need.
I don't know how to
deal
pair
with.
those two things together necessarily and make them flush and make them make sense. I don't think Ben Shapiro knows how to flush those two things together either. China is a second-rate power masquerading as a first-rate power. However, it is dominating everything.
Basic fascist stuff.
Yeah, it's a very typical. Our enemy is weak, but our enemy is dominating us.
By the way, starting in March, it's official. The workshop is going to be doing a segment for about 10 to 16 weeks, depending
do this
on
ad
fascism.
for like a minute.
Okay.
while I
So we do these seminars, workshops, which we always end up pushing at the end of these episodes, but I might as well explain them in more depth now because I never really explain what happens in them. But it's 3 hours long. It happens on Saturdays from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. PST. And what we do is we have anywhere between 10 and 16 weeks. This one was actually extended to 18 weeks, where we cover a certain topic. In the first hour, we talk about the readings that were given to you, all of which are provided to you for free. And for the first hour and a half, we end up talking about the readings. So generally pieces of philosophy or literature. And then we do some kind of exercise if we have time. And then we end up talking about different projects people are working on. Be they literature or theory, paintings, just weird thoughts that people have had. Really pretty much anything you want to bounce ideas off of people with. Pieces of film have become more common. Yeah, so what we're doing for the next seminar, which will be beginning in, I think the beginning of March, maybe middle of March, will be on fascism. So we'll have the length of a full university course talking about fascism, and kind of really getting into it so that you can be the only person hanging out at that party who, when you say the word fascism, can actually define it. And that is a superpower, I will tell you. If you can define fascism, people look at you like you're a fucking wizard. Either because they think you have brain problems, because they're conservative, or because they think that you're made of magic. Because they can't, but they wish they could. So yeah, that's the pitch. Anyway, patreon.com/Truncata, TRUNCATA. I actually have a really big announcement coming up soon about some changes in the donation scheme and things like that, but you can get access to it for free simply by messaging myself or Mike, and we'll just let you in. You don't have to donate anything, because all the money, none of it goes to me. All the money goes to donating to either individuals or to groups, usually to individuals, which I feel is more
all
efficient.
the money goes to the Democratic National Convention.
But no, we've donated from a really interesting variety of causes.
Yes,
From
the good things have happened.
From the Equal Justice Initiative to an autism foundation, a very small one in California, which I forget the name of. I can find that. To individuals, some people who have just lost their homes. We've paid for people's rent. We've paid for medical expenses. We've paid for the survivors of people that have been lost. Honestly, I feel like that's the one that we do most, which is kind of scary and unfortunate. Yeah, people die a lot. Life is very fragile. But yeah, so if you want to give us money so we can give it to a good cause, it is anywhere between $5 and $20 a month. But otherwise, just hit us up. We'll give you a link and you can hang out with us. You can also lurk. You don't even have to, you can just have a live podcast, essentially.
Yeah.
Where you just listen to us talk about.
With two idiots and then a bunch of intelligent people
That's
that
true.
we've suckered into giving us content.
Exactly. They think I'm their dad, but I'm actually
They think I'm their mom.
But yeah. And this week, if you listen to this before tomorrow morning, which is unlikely, or if you're watching live, we are discussing Deleuze and Guattari, Kafka towards the minor literature. So we're getting into some important stuff. And actually, for the next month and a half, we're going to be talking about the more political-oriented pieces of writing. We're doing Preciado, Fanon, Deleuze, all sorts of different really interesting stuff. So it's a little less literary, a little bit more focused on politics. So I think it's the right thing for Benzo. Anyway, how was your pee?
Back to what I had to step out.
How was our pee?
I had to step out to smoke crack. Actually.
Oh yeah, that's true. I can smell it.
I was fiending.
So Ben Shapiro sucks. China's fine, but sucks. But is cool, but sucks.
Yeah.
And what else do we have?
It's another. Well, we have Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yay!
Which is
that's not Jordan Peterson. That's a black man.
This is,
we're maybe late reaching the meat of our content, but
Yes.
the episode I titled
Daddy Danko, Mommy Mike from Madison in the chat.
The episode is titled Jordan Quitterson.
Man, you're a funny guy.
Yeah,
You got it.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
So this is Jordan. We don't have to watch this whole thing, of course. I'll tell us when to cut it off. We're gonna have some multiple pause moments in here, of course. But this is Jordan Peterson talking about the pandemic and tyrannical rule.
I've seen
things
you
people
wouldn't believe.
Attack
ships
You're saying
off the shoulder of Orion. Sea beams glitter off the 10-house gate. All these memories will be lost in time like tears in rain. Time to retire.
Yeah, you're saying this is a joke, but there's gonna be a clip where Jordan Peterson basically does that.
I want more school, motherfucker.
So
really
this is Jordan
hoping-
Peterson. Oh, go ahead, John. Sorry.
I was really hoping that this was going to be Jordan Peterson being reunited with his mixed race love
Bastard
child.
child.
Yeah.
that-
And then
that-
rapping
that-
to him as like
Yeah.
a way to make
I-
sense of his own
I
monolithic
know your
traits.
people's culture.
Right in the middle of little do it and know who riddleman who diddle do diddly. Didn't do that
Ass
right.
and titties. Ass and titties. Ass and titties. He just goes into DJ Assault.
Man,
Oh.
he has a decent vernacular when it comes to hip hop.
Ass and titties. Let's go ahead and play this. This is Jordan Peterson talking about the pandemic and how the response to the pandemic is maybe worse than the pandemic itself. The pandemic has killed probably 1 million people in America alone.
Oh, it's definitely 1 million at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. The official number is 890,000, I think.
Bullshit.
But yeah, that's severely underreported because
Losers.
politics have played a great role in how all these things are reported.
Yeah,
of
we
course.
just it was a good sign that once the Trump administration took over the count, it just kind of stopped for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people
Biden's not helping either, obviously.
people took help or took heart in Trump taking over. They were like, "Oh, finally, competent leadership."
Yeah.
What we needed this whole time.
The healthiest man I know is going to really manage this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So go ahead and play this.
Oh man, he's got more liver spots every time I see him.
Oh, he's decaying right in front of us.
Yeah. All right, I'll play it.
Well, we'll see with regard to the pandemic, because although in some sense it is in some ways over, our reaction to it is by no means over.
Can we pause real quick?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can hear it in his voice. This man is dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the pandemic is over. Record-breaking hospitalizations, record-breaking rates of infection.
So I got COVID in 2020, towards the beginning of, beginning-ish of this thing. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so novel and crazy. Are you okay?" And it was a whole thing. And I got a lot of attention. I jerked off a lot.
Actually.
You did.
Yeah.
But then I got COVID again because apparently I'm really stupid, or I know a lot of stupid people or something. But I got it again a couple of weeks ago. And it was very mild because I got vaccinated twice, but no booster or anything. But it sucked a lot for like 5 days or a week or whatever. But so worse than a normal flu, but not as bad as COVID is in my experience. But anyway, when I was talking to people about it, I was like, I got COVID again. Almost everyone I spoke to either knew someone or that had it or had it themselves. They were just like, "Oh no, just fucking everyone has COVID now."
Yeah.
So, the pandemic is over.
The pandemic is over.
This
but
was
our response
a week and
to
a
it
half
is-
ago.
Yeah. Our response to COVID is not over. Thank you, wise Dr. Jordan Peterson, for not reading the room.
And the very good point by Funky Fjord, close to record deaths that haven't caught up to our record infections yet and won't for another week or 3. Yeah.
Data takes a while to process.
Data takes a long time to process, but also in my experience and from what I've seen of the numbers, COVID doesn't kill you if it's going to kill you until like day 10.
Yeah.
These weaker variants, or what seem to be weaker variants, especially with vaccination and stuff, seem to get more intensely more quickly. So maybe by like day 5 or 7 or something, and then you start recovering. But it takes a really long time for this to really do its dirt. So that affects the statistics a lot as well.
Also, if you're currently mourning the death of Meatloaf,
did he die from COVID?
Yeah. From what I've heard, he died from COVID, refused to get vaccinated.
That guy had the best hits, though.
Oh yeah.
He had my favorite breasts.
Yeah.
He would do anything for love, but apparently the I won't do that was get vaccinated. As somebody who has a very clear comorbidity, his name is literally a reference to him being too fat. But,
I would do anything for love, but I won't get vaxxed.
Yeah.
Here you go.
There you go. We found the lyric. But go ahead and play more Jordan Peterson.
Reacted, I would say, so precipitously to it is that we were unprepared for such things in our naivety. And then we rushed to imitate a totalitarian society in the immediate aftermath of the pandemic emergence. And that's something that everybody should think about a lot. And we're not done with all that totalitarian
Let me pause real
nonsense
quick
yet.
again, sorry. So he kind of brushes aside the fact that we weren't prepared for something like this. And then what he says that we should have really been thinking about a lot is how we responded to this totalitarianism.
And I do think that we should be very wary of the bizarre potential of this scary like biomedical security state.
No, without a doubt. That's not the point I'm like trying to argue here at all.
But people are blowing it out of proportion in the wrong ways while ignoring it in others. Like
the
same
government
people
telling you to wear a fucking mask, which we all know works.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my question, and maybe I'm entirely off base with this.
Go ahead.
Right. But if I were to say, okay, so what's the difference between these two pictures, kind of thing, right? So one of them is you have to wear a mask when you go into BJ's to get a hamburger or a BJ, right? And the other one is if you become impregnated, you are forced to carry the child and raise a person for 18 years.
Right.
Which one of those is going to make your life harder? It's the restaurant one, right?
Yeah.
It's the one where you can't get a haircut without like taking one loop off at a time, or like, yeah, which one?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's
Which
the
one,
thing-
Michael?
Well, obviously it's the one where I have to wear a mask
Thank you.
because I can't
Thank you.
bear children, and so all of
Yeah.
my rules and justifications are based off of the fact that I can't bear children.
Yeah. And also, just a really quick point as well, Madison points out long COVID, which I can tell you is a fucking nightmare. It makes you
Yeah.
dumber. It makes you less capable of just doing basic shit like walking. Yeah, long COVID is fucking bad. It sucks, and it's going to
shrinks your
really
penis.
do things like, yeah, potentially, right? That guy that lost like an inch and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, the longer effects of COVID, even if you don't give a shit about people, it's gonna affect our economy in like really dire ways.
Well, and also like the
All
basic
stages
point,
of it, physical and the mental. You know, like
the basic point of it is, yeah, the vaccine may have some side effects.
all of the side effects are things that happen if you get COVID.
But the virus is actively trying to kill you, so
Yeah.
it's worse when you get the virus because the virus will leave you with things like scar tissue on your lungs.
Yeah.
Myocarditis.
Swelling of the heart.
Swelling of the
yeah.
heart.
Clots
I
in
looked
the
more
brain,
into that.
right?
What's that?
Clots in the brain.
No,
Is that also a thing?
No, that's not a thing with the vaccines, really.
No, not the vaccines. I was talking about COVID.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
Like
I believe it.
Yeah,
yeah. There's
they
weird
found
blood
all
clotting
kinds
things
of-
that happen
yeah,
with
all kinds of weird
COVID.
shit happens.
But myocarditis, which is like the linchpin of like all the fucking anti-vax like arguments, with the vaccine, it's relatively short-lived. It's a temporary swelling of the heart, which is a medical problem,
Sure.
but it's short-lived.
It's also the same argument they end up making against unions, where they say,
Yeah.
hey, you're going to have to pay $50 at
Mhm.
most a month, okay?
Right.
And yeah, they'll
For-
increase your wages by, I don't know,
But think about that
$150 a month.
$50.
But think about that.
And
Um,
also, by the way, anybody who's thinking about joining a union, a lot of unions at $50 a month also covers your health insurance.
Yeah. And again,
Yeah.
$50 is the extreme high end of union dues.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah, it's like electricians and plumbers.
yeah. So,
Let's play some more Jordan
let's
Peterson.
do it. Also scroll
A lot
down.
of
It looks like
that's
the chat's
driven
really
by-
working.
Well, fear and
Pretty
naivety.
busy.
I mean, 50% of Democrats in the United States believe you have a 50% chance of being hospitalized with COVID, and 25% of Republicans believe the same thing. And you can point a finger at people and laugh at their ignorance, but you should really ask, well, why is this overestimate of that magnitude, and what does that mean in relationship to policy? And I've had conversations with people advising at the highest level of government, in particularly in Canada, who've told me
Very
flat
important
out,
I'm sorry, pause it.
Yeah.
and they're
I have been advising with people, consulting with,
Yeah.
my friend has a friend. So my friend's friend was talking to someone who got herpes by sitting on a toilet seat.
All right.
And
I know a person who is loosely related to somebody who is in elected office.
everyone is how many degrees from Kevin Bacon?
Exactly. Right.
Anyway. How many people are 6 degrees from a toilet seat?
Yeah, no,
All
I
of
can
us.
I can see my toilet because I'm
Mhm.
poor.
Oh,
I can smell Mike's.
your toilet is somewhere in that blast radius.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that blast
Yeah.
radius is like 100,000 miles. So
Yeah.
yeah, in fact, that is my toilet.
it's a world-ending.
Oh,
Right at the center there.
This Chad just shits in the fucking nuclear wasteland. Please continue.
very reliable sources that none of the COVID policy for the last year was driven by reliance on science. It's all opinion poll.
What was it?
And that's really pernicious.
What was that?
What was it based off of? The economy, maybe?
Capitalism!
Go ahead, please.
Because, well, who's asking the questions and how did they set up the answer and who's answering and in what emotional
That's
state?
every
And
poll
so
anyone's
to
ever
what degree
taken.
are we led by considerations of short-term propitiation of unwarranted fear? Well, that's no way for free people to live. It certainly won't work in the long run. We're already seeing tremendous supply chain disruptions and likely the emergence of an inflationary pressure that we haven't
got all my
experienced
Christmas
since the
gifts in time.
1970s in the aftermath.
It's
Wait.
fucked up, but like,
Is he, so are people not becoming truck drivers because they're scared of catching COVID alone in the cab of their truck?
they're also afraid of becoming truck drivers because they might get charged 110 years in jail if their brakes fail.
Yeah.
Also, a lot
It
of
just
truck
sucks.
drivers actually died from COVID is the problem. And not a lot of people want to become truck drivers.
Yeah.
And when you kill everyone that wanted to become truck drivers, that poses a problem for the overall like employment of truck drivers.
You know what? I would have been really happy as a truck driver, but apparently DUIs get in the way.
Apparently, you can't drive and drink.
You can't drive around with open Smirnoff, but you can do it with a meth pipe.
And the cops won't even like listen to you to say, "Hey, I actually drive better this way."
Yeah,
I'm more focused. I'm more focused because I'm afraid of breaking the law.
Exactly,
when I'm
that's my
drunk.
favorite thing. I drive better when I'm high because I'm very careful. I'm also in a time loop and I don't know where I am, but I'm so careful about it.
Is this Cincinnati? Oh, St. Louis? Yeah, well, we're close. Go ahead, please.
Of the oil shocks. And none of that has sorted itself out yet. I believe that we will conclude that our response to the pandemic caused more death and misery than the pandemic itself.
Please pause.
And we have no...
Almost at 1 million deaths now, directly related to the pandemic.
We might still determine that this is the case through politics. We might end up saying it might say that in the history books in the end, because history is bullshit. But
yeah, I don't think 1 million people have died because of like just like regular shutdowns.
Mike, how many people died 9/11?
9/11? 3,000 and then
how many people died in
4,000?
Benghazi?
Oh.
No one cares, Mike. No one cares, but it's very important. It was a lot of people. It was too many. Too many. I think it was less than that.
Yeah, I think I'm on the high side of estimates.
I think like at most it was a dozen.
Yeah.
Like it was either 4 or 14.
Benghazi.
Yeah. So
how many people died during January 6th?
4? 3? 2?
Somewhere between 1 and 6, and
are
half
people?
of those, half of those debatable.
Yeah.
But we're still gonna try to treat it like the worst thing that's ever happened.
It was.
890,000 people, I think, is the official tally.
Might hit triple 9/11s by day.
And somehow, just like, I don't know, closing down the economy, paying some people to just stay home is worse than 890,000 deaths.
Yeah. I'm sorry to do this to this person. I'm not going to name them. But you know how I learned how to spell the word triple? Because it only has 1 P in it. The way I learned how to spell triple is that once you've added 2 P's and you're on your way to triple P's, you've gone too far. It has far fewer P's than you think. I remember everything through very complicated, stupid mnemonic devices, which is why my brain's like this. Anyway, who wants to talk about Deluxe?
Let's play some more of this clip.
No end game in sight. Another thing I asked the people that I was speaking with is like, when is this over? Well, we don't know. Well, what would over look like?
Nobody with 2 brain cells to rub together has ever asked fucking Jordan Peterson when the pandemic's going to end.
Well, here's Here's the thing for me is that no one has ever. I'm sorry. The only way that this is going to end is if we get such mild forms of COVID that it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it's still going to be a danger that something horrible will come out of that, where suddenly we have like a super COVID that just murders everyone.
Well,
But COVID is part of life now. If anyone that I've ever spoken to that said, when this is all over, those people have been stupid. They're just dumb people. Because this is just part of life now. You remember, if you ever watched cartoons in the 90s, one of the ongoing gags was a cure for the common cold. And it's because even the most basic piece of shit knew that you couldn't cure the cold.
right.
And it wasn't worth it. And that's what COVID is.
Yeah. We basically allowed something to become a
Yeah.
permanent part of our
We were panicking about MRSA, and we were like, let's just do the same thing, but with the cold.
right. Yeah, no, it's permanent now.
Yeah.
It's endemic, I guess.
It's here.
It's moved from pandemic to endemic.
It's now the flu, but worse.
We could have stopped it, and now we have another thing that we have to contend with every year, every couple
More
of
than that.
months.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't seem to be seasonal either. So, like, you're going to have the cold where it's like, really, you're calling up because of the cold. And then you're going to have... You're gonna have the flu where it's like, oh man, okay, you get 3 days off for the flu. That sucks though. Get your flu shot, and then you're gonna have COVID, which happens all the time forever. And you're gonna be like, I need to take 2 weeks off from work to recover from this, but they told me I have 48 hours or I get fired.
Well, the thing is,
and I get a new
that
vaccination every 34 hours.
Seasonality depends on seasons happening.
Also a good point.
And,
also a good
and
point.
Seasonality
But
when
COVID seems
you're...
extremely resistant to that anyway.
True.
So,
but it's worse when you don't have seasonality.
remember when they were saying it would be gone by summer because it would be hot?
Remember when
and sunny?
Elon Musk said that it would be gone in 2 weeks?
What a fucking... That guy's the person people think is a genius. Same with this guy, by the way. Let's play more of his shit. The genius.
Yes. More Jordan
The
Peterson.
brain
Give it
genius.
to me.
Yeah.
But we don't really know. And now what you see is this
More benzos.
insistence on about a monthly basis that a new and radically different variant has emerged. And this
saying, like,
viruses mutate
that's
all
not
the
real?
time, but this virus
Oh,
particularly mutates. And there are small mutations and medium-sized mutations, numbers, let's say, and also effect, and larger scale mutations. When is that a variant? Well, how about
Pause.
This is why I
Do you-
wanted you to hold on.
Do you remember the beta variant?
Yeah.
Do you remember when everyone had beta? No?
No.
That's weird. That's crazy. Okay, how about the gamma?
Nah, I don't remember that.
How about the epsilon?
Yeah, no.
Zeta?
No.
Eta? Theta?
No.
I may have fucked it up. I constantly forget the
whatever.
Greek alphabet,
What
but
is-
I
yeah,
think I'm
what
doing
is-
pretty well. But yeah, so the fact of the matter is that we heard so little about all these other variants because they weren't of concern that I thought the reason they called it Delta variant is because Delta is common scientific nomenclature for change. I thought it just meant new variant.
No, it's chronological.
It is. No,
Yeah.
it definitely is. That's what I've learned since. But that's how little we ended up hearing about the variants proceeding from it. Because
And you know he's going, who even decides when it's a variant? Well, it's a variant when you can analyze the cell structure and like look at it and see that, oh hey, there's been a different development in the cell structure of this virus.
you know what's awesome is that this is the same guy, I'm sure, that would be like, well, there's a very scientific way of understanding the delineation between races, but certainly genders.
We might get into that later on.
I'm
actually.
sure. I'm sure we will. Anyway,
But yeah, his entire thing is like, well, who decides what a variant is? A variant is when you look at the virus under a microscope and go, oh, hey, this fucking changed. That's a variant. That's literally all a variant
Yeah,
is.
there has to be. I think it's a percentage change in the genetic code. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be like a very substantial change, which is what we're seeing a lot with like the spike proteins that are developing out of COVID or whatever. And so when enough of that develops, they go, oh yeah, this is now a new thing that's more contagious or maybe not as contagious but more deadly. Like these things kind of interchange. Viruses are like extremely well known for
Changing
evolving
extremely quickly.
Yeah.
But
that's their thing is that they evolve very quickly.
But here's the thing: is that I remember being astounded, and actually I think I was going off about this last week. Where why can't people process basic like microbiology? But then I've thought on this a little bit, and I again, just like every time that Ted comes on and we say people aren't stupid.
Yeah.
I still generally believe that. But if people can't understand macroevolution, they probably won't understand this, I guess. Or if they're resistant to one, they're going to be resistant to the other.
Yeah. And to be fair, this is not a majority view that
No.
Yeah.
But it's enough.
This is a minority-driven view that has power because capitalism is very powerful. And the capitalist preference is that we just ignore that this virus can develop in such a way.
Yeah.
That's really all it boils down to. It's not that most people actually agree that like this is happening, this is real, and we need to like do something about it. But
we will be talking about it, essentially this in workshop tomorrow. So everyone's invited that's watching.
Minor literatures.
You get it. But the opposite, because he's pretending to be minor, even though he's not.
No. He is an establishment literature. He's a majority literature. Continue.
Pharmaceutical companies think, well, that's cynical. Is it now? The biggest lawsuits in the history of the American judicial system have been levied against the largest pharmaceutical companies on a regular basis for the last 20 years. And since when has it been a proposition of the political left that pharmaceutical companies necessarily...
It's not a proposition of the left. Nobody thinks that the pharmaceutical companies should be believed on the left. Literally nobody I've ever talked to on the left, and I know literally everyone
dislikes the pharmaceutical companies.
Everyone dislikes the pharmaceutical companies. However, we understand that the pharmaceutical companies can also make medicines that are good. Yeah. The problem we have is that they monetize it. They abuse patents. They prey on people who don't have financial means to afford their medicines. It's not about whether or not pharmaceutical companies make actual pharmaceutical helpful things. It's that pharmaceutical companies make helpful things and then they abuse people for those helpful things.
Yeah. I understand that Ford is a bullshit company, but also if I'm
the car gets me from A to B.
Exactly.
Make wheels
but
move.
It's going to drive me to work, so continue, sir.
We have our best interests in mind. Now, I'm not particularly cynical about pharmaceutical companies. I think they have a hard job, both in terms of research and development and marketing and sales. And they're going to do what they can to market and sell. But that doesn't mean that they are now to be the arbiters of all public policy, because our politicians are too cowardly and incompetent to do anything but devolve their responsibilities to so-called experts, domain experts. Politics is not public health. That's medicine.
Stop. Politics is actually very much public health.
This man has never read Foucault or Agamben.
This man has never fucking worked in the public sphere.
Yeah.
Politics directly impacts public health. Whether or not a sewer system gets installed in your city and where it drains to is a matter of politics.
Well, I mean, it's because he thinks, or his definition of politics is performance of power absent of any action or anything else.
Of course,
like
right.
that's all it is.
He has no like
Politics is when you impregnate a Chad, as they would have said back in 2001. Does anyone remember that? That's the funniest joke I could think of as an old person. When you impregnate a Chad, that's so much funnier now. Actually, I can't laugh at it, but it's very funny to me.
a little bit fun.
It's very funny. It's so funny. Anyway.
Continue.
Politics is the art of analyzing the entire situation
No,
and
it's
charting
not.
a course forward, all
Nope.
things considered.
Nope.
And for politicians to trot out the experts and say follow the science just means that they've abdicated their own responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I think it's appalling.
we don't have to watch any more of this clip. Politics is analyzing all things and charting the best course forward. So why is there a difference in politics then?
Yeah. You know what's really funny is I'm pretty sure that I'm sure he said it at one point, but if you walked up to Jordan Peterson and said, "Do you agree that politics is war by other means?" He'd be like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." It's
Right.
like, so what are the limits of war?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the limits of politics? Do they belong in little squares?
No.
Anyway.
Let's go to the next clip. So we've just heard Jordan Peterson talking about how
And Matt Taibbi looks like shit.
that is
He has
not-
more hair
that
now.
is not Matt Taibbi.
He looks
Please
older
do not
and younger.
slander my boy Matt Taibbi.
I haven't seen any of his shit in a long time.
Oh,
but,
well,
yeah,
he
After Rolling Stone kicked them off, or like broke the contract or whatever the fuck.
yeah. So they left the Rolling Stone contract.
Yeah.
Matt Taibbi is working on a book now, so he's not a part of Useful Idiots anymore.
Oh, okay. It's just the
Erin
annoying
Mate.
lady.
Well, yeah, it's the annoying lady.
She was
and
fine. She
Erin,
was fine.
yeah, she's fine. Please.
Erin Mate?
Yeah,
Why
Erin
do I know
Mate.
that name? Who's that?
He did a bunch of really good reporting on like Russia and Ukraine.
Okay. So it's always Russia, Ukraine reporting people that go on Useful Idiots. Huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably that's
but
that's part of the name.
It's pretty good now.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like Matt Taibbi in a way. I mean, enough. More than
Right.
Glenn Greenwald. I used to always say that. People were like, Glenn Greenwald is pretty cool. I'd be like, I don't know. He seems like a shittier version of Matt Taibbi. And they were like, oh, I don't know about that. And now Glenn Greenwald is a fucking R
Nightmare.
word. And everyone's real
R-word,
quiet.
whatever you want.
Everyone's real quiet about the fact that I was right all along. Like I always am. I've never been wrong.
You're right.
Ever.
Okay.
About anything.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
My life is perfect.
So we've
Somebody's
just heard a
off their
bunch of
meds.
Jordan Peterson complaining about rules and totalitarianism.
Mhm.
So you might expect when he goes on to a Christian podcast where they're talking about how God's rule of law is actually liberating ourselves from ourselves, he would maybe view that as like a totalitarian, harmful, kind of reductionist sort of way of viewing things.
We back to the great chain of being
No.
dogs.
But yeah, like Danko was saying, we're back to the great chain of being. Great men leading regular people, and it's all good. And these people are not psychopaths; they're psychopaths.
Everyone just learn your place and everything works
Yeah.
fine.
Is this going to come down to that like the rule of God is like transcendent, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
seems right.
doesn't have to follow these rules, or is he
No.
just gonna
No,
No,
that's
no,
too
no,
thoughtful.
different-
That's
he's
like
just
that's
gonna
like
be a
Walter
different
Benjamin
person?
almost.
yeah. That's way better than these guys are gonna do, which is God's rules may seem harsh, but it's to liberate us
Or
from
evil.
ourselves, and it's actually better that we live this way, and it's a kindness that he's given us these rules and moral.
He only beats me because he's actually worried about me and he loves me so much.
Pretty much exactly. So go ahead and play this.
Seeking to do. Now, always imperfectly because we're imperfect, but both need to be there. There needs to be the moral, the high moral calling, but also the great mercy, both. Because I think one without the other is going to be
Sorry, pause for a second. I'm
unbalanced.
really sorry. The man sitting next to Matt Taibbi really wants to kiss him.
Definitely.
It is
Lust in those
it's
eyes.
weirdly apparent to me that he's like staring at his mouth the whole time, thinking like, what if I kissed him right now? That would be fucked up. But like, what if I did that? Anyway. Well, also, who does he
Does
look
he have a
like?
soul
Who looks
patch?
familiar? He does. He
What
does.
the fuck?
If a man has a soul patch, he's a homophobe that really wants cock.
Yeah.
Like, that's what a soul patch means.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
signifier.
It's
like
the tickle
how
the
you-
balls. It's
yeah,
the tickle the balls.
It is. Well, it's like a ring in one ear or the other, but
Yeah.
it transcends that. It's just a soul patch because it says, I'm not gay. Please know that I'm gay.
Yeah, everybody knows that a soul patch is a coom bib.
Yeah. Unless you play jazz, in which case it's possible that you're bi,
Yeah.
maybe even straight, but probably not. I mean, it's a soul patch.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the high moral calling, again, is for our own good. The law is a
Not
form
gay.
of grace. This is how we flourish. This is how
He has psychotic shark eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And please note that he's saying the law is for our own good. The law is grace. We are given these rules so that we may flourish. We've just listened to Jordan Peterson talk about how all the rules surrounding COVID are tyrannical and horrible and oppressive, not for our own good.
He's also like shaking a little bit as he
Yeah.
speaks,
Yeah.
as Matt Taibbi next to him stays like pretty calm, but like within his own space.
Yeah.
And so
That's not Matt Taibbi.
and so no, it's just it's
I
very,
know,
it's
but-
very evident which one of them is the Dom.
Sure.
Oh, I thought at this point I thought that was Jordan Peterson before the rehab dungeon.
Yeah, like a go on.
we become happy. Now, of course, we fail, which brings in the mercy component, but that's another terrible misconstrual of religion broadly, and specifically Christianity and Catholicism, is that somehow these rules were premised on control or power as their motivating reason for coming into existence. It's the exact opposite. It's to liberate. It's to liberate us
Oh my
from
god, I'm sorry, pause
ourselves.
it. When I
think
kept
it's his
hearing
fucking jaw.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was
Jordan Peterson.
John. I
Yeah.
thought it was John,
No,
like
I thought it
like
was
humming
you.
into the camera or the mic. That was very funny.
That was,
It's
that was
Jordan
fucking
Peterson.
Mike Taibbi.
No, that's
No,
Jordan
no,
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson.
Going,
Oh,
We're gonna
oh,
see him in a minute.
he's
Yeah.
off camera.
We're almost
Oh,
we're like
God.
at the end of the video too.
Well, we're
He
at the
finally
end of
shows
the
up?
segment. Yeah.
Oh no, it's just a very long
Oh,
video.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is he staring at Jordan Peterson that way?
Yes.
Man, that's
and
with his
mind you-
chin,
Yeah.
he's staring with his chin. He's not.
Yeah.
Mind you,
staring
he's
with his face.
literally just said that these laws are to liberate ourselves from us, or
Mhm.
liberate us
Mhm.
from ourselves.
Yeah.
Not
Doesn't really
about
matter which
control.
way you put that. He's literally saying that all these mandates from heaven are to take ourselves and remove them from ourselves so that we no longer have to like be
Yeah.
beholden to ourselves.
Yeah, that's why Daddy won't let me come.
This is after Jordan
'Cause
Peterson
mandates.
has said that all these vaccine mandates
Yeah.
are tyrannical,
Right,
our
right,
responses to COVID are oppressive
Well,
and
I mean,
horrible.
Jordan
and-
Peterson is all about competence hierarchies, but he's also like a weird, probably libertarian, and so the government can't be competent, but God is.
Well, we'll get into like that later on.
Okay.
So continue playing this.
I guess it's the
Oh,
other
and
thing
he's
that
in a different
Jesus.
room.
seems to have worked in my lectures. It's like a lot of the work I've done was motivated by my attempts, I suppose, to understand hell. And then more than that, it's like, how is it that you become an active contributor to hell? And you might
Dante
say, well,
solved
hell isn't
this.
real.
Oh yeah.
No, please continue.
Oh, I thought we were gonna talk about how Dante solved this.
No.
No, it's just evident. Like you make your own hell. There you go. Done.
Yeah.
Get further from God.
Well, and I would say then, well, you haven't looked enough if you think that's true. You're fortunate enough so that you can believe that's not
Jesus.
true. It's like,
You know, I just
nothing
realized
about
something.
history and you've been unbelievably sheltered in your own life if you don't believe that hell is real.
Pause.
And, you know,
I just realized what he sounds like, even more than Kermit.
Yeah.
He sounds more
Worse
like
than
this than Kermit. No, like more like it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But he sounds like that feeling when you're really busy doing something, you're really focused on it, and you realize you need a shit. But you're like, fuck, no, I really want to get this done first. And your like legs are shaking and shit, and you're just like, oh my God.
God, I have to go to the bathroom now.
I'm gonna have an accident as a big boy if I don't go to the bathroom right fucking now.
As the big boy.
Yeah.
Who pays rent?
Who pays rent? And yet they let me shit myself. They won't invent technology to stop that. And so you're just like, oh my God, I gotta do a thing. I gotta finish this, but oh my God, I gotta shit. And like it gets your adrenaline spiking. Yeah. And like your extremities are buzzing and your skin's like, you know, you're just like, there's something real big in my ass. and that's what it feels like, is his voice. Yeah. It's, thank you.
See, and then like,
someone please clip that.
And
don't do that.
Coupled by fucking Jordan Peterson's like terrifying face right now.
Yeah, he's like a leather handbag, but somehow he doesn't look like he's been outside.
He does not look well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue playing this, please.
Maybe only someone cruel would wish that ignorance be stripped away from you. But if you study history as a perpetrator, well then, if you study history, you believe in hell, and if you study history as a perpetrator, then you see how your own inequity contributes to that.
This man can't.
And then it's not unreasonable to say, "What
was that?"
He's literally on the toilet.
He's literally like
continue.
He's prairie dogging as he says all this. Continue, yeah.
If you love people, you would try to guide them away from that. And when I did my maps of meaning lectures at the university and in public, that's always in the back of my mind. It's, well, look at what happened in Germany, and look at what happened in the Soviet Union, and look at what happened in China, and how do you act so that happens? Well, I wouldn't make that happen. It's like, if you say that, then you would, because you don't know enough. Because if you do, you'd say, yes, I could contribute to that, and I probably am, and I should be terrified enough to stop if I only knew how. And then these guidelines to love and to tell the truth, they are in fact protection against exactly that kind.
I think Matt Taibbi is actually terrified.
It's not Matt Taibbi.
Matt Tahini. Matt Tahini and the gay guy.
Matt Tahini and
so question. So is what's happening right now here that Jordan Peterson is just physically extremely unwell?
Yes.
Or is he just doing the thing that all abusive partners do, where they are just pretending to cry all the time?
Oh, yes, to both.
Because, like, I finally picked up on that this time. I mean, he does it a lot. Like, but he's more convincing most of the time. But this one was really confusing for me because it's just like watching him do the... I just don't know why everyone is making fun of me. But yeah, I think he's trying to pretend he's emotional right now, isn't he?
Yeah, no, it's.
I'm an empath, so I can tell.
Yeah, I'm an empath as well, and Jordan Peterson is full of shit.
Yeah, I'm an empath. I'm an empath, so I can tell Jordan Peterson's crying.
All I got.
There's someone in the world that's saying that
Jordan Peterson could possibly participate in a genocide. That's all I got from that.
Well, right, yeah, he believes that everybody could potentially, I guess.
It sucks because I agree with that one point of his that he always makes. But the fact is that he always uses it in the wrong direction.
Right.
Where it's just, yeah, everyone could participate in a genocide, so we probably shouldn't give inordinate amounts of power to assholes, and we should probably make sure that things more equitable. And he's just like, no, that's why my daddy needs to be in control. And then he starts sobbing, and he's just like, oh, the little boys need to come out, hang out with me so they can be real.
Protects us all from this.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
My daddy, God, who is responsible for more genocides than anyone, not even the religion, just God.
Yeah. Fucking ghost authoritarians better than real authoritarians.
So that's all we need to watch of this clip, I think, because it's kind of hilarious to watch Jordan Peterson like devolve in that way.
But was that apparent to everyone that he was pretending to be emotional?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Because it wasn't apparent to me at first.
If you don't believe in hell,
like
and you've lived a very privileged life. It's the only way.
And I've seen so much Jordan Peterson, but I was convinced at that point in time, maybe because I've seen a lot of him, that he was just being sick, shitty Jordan Peterson. But then it's like, oh no, it's because he's trying to do his old emotional thing, which I don't feel like he's done in a while, or not as much.
He's coming back around after the Benzo Rehab.
Yeah. You know,
we brought him back. We brought him back.
Bless.
Yeah.
Then we have the next link, which is probably one of his best
choices?
stick as licks ever, I guess. Jordan Peterson, why I'm no longer a tenured professor at the University of Toronto.
Because I'm emeritus.
The appalling ideology of diversity, inclusion, and equity is demolishing the education. We go back up, John.
Oh, sorry.
Demolishing education and business.
Oh.
Probably an emphasis on business.
Yeah. Well, education's a business, Michael.
If you could zoom into the body of the article here. I really apologize to do this, but I had to see myself out real quick to go cry for a moment. But if you want to read the article, I've read the article, so...
So, Jordan Peterson, all right. So, if you want to scroll down a little bit so I can see the text at the top there. Yeah. I recently resigned. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I should do it the right way. I recently resigned from my position as full-tenured professor at the University of Toronto, which isn't quite as good as McGill, but I took it. I am now Professor Emeritus, which just means I retired. It's very fancy. And before I turned 60, Emeritus is generally a designation reserved for a superannuated faculty, albeit those who had served their term with some distinction. Which again is that fucking thing I just said, where he's a person that retired into a special position. I had envisioned teaching and researching at U of T full-time until they had to haul my skeleton out of my office, and then I found a way to make a shit ton of money. I loved my job and my students. There's a period in there for some reason. I don't know why. I loved my job, period, and my students. Weird. Undergraduates and graduates alike were positively predisposed towards me.
What?
Oh, what a weird... I'm not going to get caught up on the grammar, but this is bizarre.
It is. It doesn't flow right. And
I loved my job and my
the
students,
only,
undergrad... Yeah.
The only hard rule of English is that the sentences flow.
Well, yeah, and there are actual things to say about the genuine grammatical errors involved in this. It's really bizarre. But I'm not going to bore everyone with it. But that career path was not meant to be. There were many reasons, including the fact that I can now teach many more people and with less interference online. But here's a few more. So again, I found a way to make a shit ton of money. So yeah, if anyone doesn't know, emeritus, he's right. He said it in a weird way, but it's generally a designation reserved for superannuated faculty who have served with some distinctions. So professors who they thought were notable, who had been there for a long time. Which I'm gonna just note, Jordan Peterson is old and probably gonna be dead tomorrow.
Thank God.
So superannuated and high distinction, sadly fits. So yeah, he's acting like that's a weird thing, but of course he would be.
Yeah. He's the only professor that's ever found himself in this circumstance. Really, it's kind of what he would have you believe, I think.
Yeah, but no, this is a thing. If you published enough, if you're well enough known, and you're like, I'm gonna take a step back, they're like, well, we want you on the faculty, you piece of shit, and so you're emeritus at that moment.
Yep.
So, of course, very hard to get to tenure, but once you get to tenure, if you're a fancy motherfucker who has a bunch of publications and on Joe Rogan, then you can get emeritus pretty easy.
Yeah, and mind you, emeritus doesn't mean that you're like some sort of rebellious force.
No, it's the opposite usually.
Yeah, really what it means is that you've upheld the status quo to such a distinct degree that you become like a part of the structure that upholds the status quo.
Yeah.
Universities and academia in general, I'm sorry to say, are not like revolutionary forces a lot of times.
Yeah. I won't name drop, but I know very closely a professor emeritus at UCSD who does political science. Political science.
You can talk about me. It's fine.
Yeah. But he and I, every time that he and I go to lunch, he and I get into an argument about whether or not it's cool that Jacobin chose the name Jacobin. Because again, he's not a revolutionary. He's a person who is pretty status quo, who was generally left, or left enough, but still not rebellious enough to be knocked out of emeritus position. He got tenure for a reason, like he's status quo. That's how this works.
So you're telling me that the present structures of power don't typically choose people that are
threatening that structure of
power,
which is really funny because tenure was originally invented so that they could stop the government from forcing them to hire people that are like against the Vietnam War and stuff.
That's how most quote unquote rebellious structures can form.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hate to be that guy that says this, but the reason that they call revolution is because it revolves.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah.
And then of course the capitalist neoliberal capture machine.
The every time you deterritorialize something, it snaps into a reterritorialized space. If you want to check out us tomorrow morning, we're doing the Trincata workshop where we're going to talk about the deterritorialization,
or you could just think about like the Che Guevara t-shirt sold by Hot Topic.
I mean, that's a pretty good example. Or the fact that like if you think about Biggie Smalls now and like who's probably singing that in their car, it's a white lady.
Yeah. 9 times out of 9.1.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we continue reading this letter from Jorbo Peebers?
But here's a few more reasons I left, of course. First, my qualified and supremely trained... What the fuck?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I couldn't
read the article.
First, my qualified and supremely trained heterosexual white male graduate students. I was inserting shit before as commentary.
No,
I thought
I thought you had read before.
And so I wasn't prepared for him to own himself like this. So okay. So from here on, just know.
Pass me the Smirnoff.
Yeah, here's the Smirnoff, the very high quality vodka we're drinking. But from here on out until the end of it, I'm not adding anything. This is all just his words.
Yes.
Whereas that first paragraph, I did add things, but it should be obvious if you're not dumb as shit. First, my qualified and supremely trained heterosexual white male graduate students. And I've had many others, by the way.
Unnamed, ungendered.
Whoa, that is such a shady thing to say.
Yeah.
I have a lot of great white male graduate students, and I've had many others, by the way. So I've had a lot of students that weren't white male, but they were shit. Is that what he's saying? Okay, anyway. Face a negligible chance of being offered university research positions. Well, yeah, it's oversaturated. Despite stellar scientific dossiers, this is partly because of diversity capitalized, inclusivity capitalized, and equity without Oxford comma and also capitalized. Mandates, my preferred acronym, DIE. Diversity, inclusivity, and equity. DIE! These have been imposed universally in academia, despite the fact that university hiring committees had already done everything reasonable for all the years of my career and then some to ensure that no qualified minority, again, we will define minority tomorrow morning, candidates were ever overlooked. My students are also partly unacceptable precisely because they are my students. That's fair. I am academic persona non grata because my unacceptable philosophical positions, and this isn't just some inconvenience. The grammar in this is fucking insane.
Yeah.
The punctuation is fucking nonsense.
Can you please stop criticizing our Lord and Savior Jordan B.
Jesus
Peterson?
Christ. So I had a professor tell me once it's okay to be agrammatical, but and started shitting on me after that.
I think it's okay to be agrammatical, but you need to have a good reason to be
right. Because I'm the king of run-on sentences in the end, but this is fucking nonsense. Like this is a poorly educated, this is a high schooler.
I've said for a long time that Jordan Peterson is just a horrible fucking writer.
He's horrible. He's awful. I've read it. I've read his books with you. I've read 3 of his books.
Yes,
and
same now.
I have not seen this shit. His brain is melting. He's dying.
So
this man is dying.
Maybe I shouldn't assume, but English is Jordan Peterson's first language, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean Canadian.
Yes,
Canadian.
Sorry, it was a dumb joke.
Well, it doesn't read to me like somebody who's they're technically they're literate, you know what I mean?
It does, but it seems like he's throwing darts and deciding where to put.
I would say it seems like somebody. I wouldn't say that it doesn't seem like English is his first language. I would seem like, or I would say that it seems like he's a bad writer.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's not using words correctly, or he's not technically building a sentence correctly.
He's dictating it into a program, and then he has Grammarly telling him what to do.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's technically that was a sentence. In the context of the other sentences, it's not. But
no blue underlines in Word.
Yeah,
it seems to me like somebody who took a graduate level linguistics class in English, fucking and learned academically how to speak English as opposed to actually talking to people.
Funky Fjord notes, it doesn't read like someone who knows how to convey information using words, which is all science students, in my experience. But I've been reading a lot of science papers. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Please continue reading.
These facts rendered my job morally untenable. How can I accept prospective researchers and train them in good conscience knowing their employment prospects to be minimal? You work in academia, you fuck. Yeah. All of them are that way. Second reason. This is one of many issues of appalling ideology currently demolishing the universities and, downstream, the general culture. Not least because there simply is not enough qualified BIPOC, I'm shocked he's using that term, people in the pipeline to meet diversity targets quickly enough, BIPOC equals black, indigenous, and people of color for those of you not in the knowing woke. Okay, so he had to shit on it after you used it.
Yeah.
This has been common knowledge among many remotely truthful among any remotely truthful academic who has served on a hiring committee for the last 3 decades. This means we're out to produce a generation of researchers utterly unqualified for their job.
Does it though?
Because, well, they're minorities, Michael.
Yeah.
And we've seen what that means already in the horrible grievance studies disciplines. You could have said
What?
grievance disciplines. Why does the word studies there?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That, again, grammatically totally fucking devoid, combined with the death of objective testing, as we find ourselves like confronted with the crisis of replication and shit like that, where objective testing is harder and harder, has compromised the university so badly that it can be hardly overstated. And what happens in the universities eventually colors everything. Colors everything.
Yeah.
As we have discovered. All my craven colleagues must craft die statements to obtain a research grant. They all lie, accepting the minority of true believers, and they teach their students to do the same. And they do it constantly with various rationalizations and justifications, further corrupting what is already a stunningly corrupt enterprise. Some of my colleagues even allow themselves to undergo so-called anti-bias training conducted by supremely unqualified human resources personnel. That's fine. That's fair.
I agree, yeah.
Lecturing inanely and blithely and in an accusatory manner about theoretically all-pervasive racist, sexist, heterosexist attitudes. Such training is now often a precondition to occupy a faculty position on a hiring committee.
Don't be a racist.
Yeah.
Need I point out that implicit attitudes cannot, by the definitions generated by those who have made them a central point of our culture, be transformed by short-term explicit training? I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
but
fair. Yeah,
should you not force them into it?
Yeah, the conclusion he arrives to, not fair.
Force, my friends, is violence, the supreme authority by which all other authorities do act. Naked force has solved more issues throughout history than any other factor, and those who deny this always pay.
He's going off script.
That's, yeah, he didn't say it. That was a quote from Starship Troopers. Yeah. Anyway, assuming that those biases exist in the manner claimed, and that is a very weak claim, and I'm speaking scientifically here, the implicit association test, much vaunted IAT, which purports to objectively diagnose implicit bias, that's automatic racism and the like, is by no means powerful enough, valid, and reliable enough to do what it purports to do. Yeah, probably fair.
Yeah.
Two of the original designers of the test, Anthony Greenwald and Brian Nosek, have said as much publicly. The third, Professor Mazarian Banaji of Harvard, remains recalcitrant. Quick note, most all psychological testing is bullshit.
Without a doubt.
This is the person that is constantly talking about how valuable IQ is. IQ is also stupid bullshit. So...
It highlights weird inconsistencies in his belief.
Yeah. Take it from me, someone who has never gotten the same IQ result twice, and my parents were obsessed with testing me in return. Oh, God, I said the word. It's okay, because I took the test and I found it. That's what I am.
I've been medically diagnosed with R-wordism.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, you're ADHD, but actually worse. You're R-worded. Anyway,
Our word.
that's what they said. They were like,
Yeah.
we know because we're all very smart people here that it's gonna become woke in the future.
Son, look at us in the eyes. You're R-worded.
Never go full R word. Never go full psychopathology. Much of this can be attributed to her overtly leftist political agenda, as well as her embeddedness within a subdiscipline of psychology, social psychology, because she cares about people interacting.
Going off script again.
Yeah, sorry. I promised I wouldn't do that. So corrupt that it denied the existence of left-wing authoritarianism for 6 decades after World War II.
What?
A thing that we definitely did in America a lot. We were like, the Soviet Union, they're dope as shit, and we like them. We did that for 6 decades after World War II. We did it until the year 2005. Yeah. Later. Sorry. Incredible. Just incredible. The same social psychologists, broadly speaking, also casually regard conservatism in the guise of scientific justification as a form of psychopathology. Totally justifiable. Banerjee's continued countenancing of the misuse of a research instrument combined with the... What does that mean?
No, nobody knows. Push through.
I read Lacan. Banerjee's continued countenancing of the misuse of a research instrument. I guess I get it. Combined with the status of her position at Harvard is a prime reason we still suffer under the die yoke, with its baleful effect on what was once the closet.
Closest.
Oh, I was like, what does that mean? Also, I'm drunk. Closest we had ever come to truly meritorious election. There are good reasons to suppose that die motivated eradication of objective testing such as the GRE for graduate school admission, which is the test here that's actually bullshit, and most universities actually know it now, so I mean, whatever. Will have deleterious effects on the ability of students so selected to master such topics as statistics, all social sciences, and medicine for that matter, rely upon completely for their validity. Scroll.
Yeah, sorry, I was just wondering.
It's painful.
How is this going to affect graduate statistics?
Because
students?
he says so.
This was made out to be a listicle, but now I'm seeing that he's just going off on a rant now.
Yeah.
What are the notes on the list he's made so far? He said people don't like my students.
Yes, 1 and 2. 2 was
DIE.
Yeah.
Is that it? He just keeps going on about that.
Too many minorities. We don't.
Yeah. Diversity, inclusion, and equity.
Yeah.
It's so okay. So good points.
Statistics grads should be allowed to be homophobic, racist, or something, or maybe only one. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Furthermore, the accrediting boards for graduate clinical psychology training programs in Canada are now planning to refuse to accredit university clinical programs unless they have social justice orientation. That, again, why are you doing this? Combined with some recent legislative changes in Canada claiming to outlaw a so-called conversion... No.
What? He's standing up for conversion therapy.
That, combined with some recent legislative changes in Canada claiming to outlaw so-called conversion therapy, but really making it exceedingly risky for clinicians to do anything but ever agree always about everything with their clients, have likely doomed the practice of clinical psychology, which always depended entirely on trust and privacy.
Our boys standing up for conversion therapy.
This motherfucker, and not that you need to, but this motherfucker has never read a word of Deleuze. He just hasn't. Imagine.
I would go so far as to say he's never read a word.
That's probably true. Well, he's read a lot of Young, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's read a lot of Young, which nobody.
Young is fine. Young has good things and a lot of bad things.
There you go. When you have to say it that way.
I mean, it's competing with Freud, so what can you say?
Yeah.
But yeah, this notion that that clinical psychology and the state haven't always inherently been very close friends is fucking weird. Anyway, similar moves are afoot in other professional disciplines such as medicine and law. And if you don't think that psychologists, lawyers, and other professionals are anything but terrified of their now woke governing professional colleges, much to everyone's extreme detriment, you simply don't understand how far this has all gone. Just exactly what am I supposed to do when I meet a graduate student or a young professor hired on die grounds?
Real quick. They're probably very qualified people who are also maybe brown or women.
Yeah. They are people hired on die grounds, whatever, who have been accepted into University of Toronto, which, though I shat on it before saying that McGill is better, and it probably is, it's still a very highly regarded university. Like
there's a bar that's been passed.
Yeah, it's an extraordinarily high regarded
and
university.
so his problem is that these people who are passing these this bar are maybe women or maybe brown.
Yeah.
Or maybe both.
Wow, crazy. And also just the fact of the matter that, like, it's so fucking hard to become a professor.
Right.
Especially a tenured professor. And thereby, I don't know, dude, I feel like the market's competitive enough. The fact that we're helping a couple people out doesn't, whatever. But here we are. Manifest instant skepticism regarding their personal ability. Oh, okay.
Professional.
See, is that not what I said?
You said personal. It's actually
Who
professional.
cares? Yeah, it is professional. But yeah, even then it was the manifest that was confusing to me until I realized that he just doesn't understand how punctuation works.
Right.
What a slap in the face to a truly meritorious young outsider. And perhaps that's the point.
Can I pause real quick? What truly meritorious young outsider? A straight white male that's passed the tests?
Yeah.
Is that what an outsider is now? The historical like inheritor of all like academic sanctions and ability and like just like they've been given everything in their lives academically.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's what I want to point out. And sorry, everyone, including myself, but while being at these universities, pretty fancy ones, and interacting with people,
a man of letters,
being a man of letters, what I've discovered is that the generally speaking, the just like standard boring white guy that got in that doesn't have any interesting thoughts. I mean, he's the standard white guy that doesn't have any interesting thoughts. Like he's there simply because he felt he deserved to be there, and everyone kind of agreed because he's that guy.
Yeah.
Whereas I generally did find, like, truly far more interesting and complex and worthwhile thoughts coming out of people who are coming from minoritarian settings, both because of the fact that they weren't necessarily expected to be there, and so they had more reason to like think of reasons to be there.
Yeah.
But also that when you're dealing with things like, again, minor literatures and stuff, I'm sorry, I keep on like as a meme like referencing the thing tomorrow, but this is what we're going to talk about. When we're talking about these spaces where you have a comparatively low amount of social power invested in a certain space, you have a certain way of reinventing the way that power ends up functioning. And so if you want to have a really like intellectually interesting intellectual space, it probably would be best for you to hire fewer rich white straight guys. It's probably actually just best for the university.
Damn, imagine that.
Yeah, crazy. And I say that as one, you know? Well, not one of those is missing.
Not the rich part, bro.
Yeah, not the rich part. But yeah, it's straightish, whatever. And for those of you who think I am overstating the case, how long is this? We're like
it's-
halfway scrolled.
Yeah.
I hope there's like a 1,000 ads at the end.
Keep pushing through.
And for those of you who think that I'm overstating the case or that it is something limited in some trivial sense to the universities, consider some other examples. Why do I read ahead? This report from Hollywood, cliched hotbed of liberal sentiment, for example, indicates how far this has gone. In 2020, the Academy...
Hey.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Oscar people, embarked on a 5-year plan. Does that ring any historical bells? It's about communism.
Yeah. Oh, no.
To diversify our organization and expand our definition of the best. Which,
Just keep going.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I can't point out everything that's wrong. The best.
They did so, and
And I lost it entirely. Thank you, Daddy. They did so in an attempt which included developing new representation and inclusion standards for Oscars. To hypothetically better reflect, underline for some reason,
yeah.
the diversity of the movie-going audience. What fruit has this initiative, offspring of the die ideology, born with an E? According to a recent article penned by Peter Kiefer and Peter, but posted on on former New York Times' journalist Barry Weiss's Common Sense website.
Great reference.
And Weiss left the Times with the intrusion of radical left ideologies in the newspaper, such as Tara Henley did recently vis-a-vis the CBC. I can't do this anymore. He's talking about fucking Barry Weiss and shit.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm done.
all right.
I quit the podcast. I quit life. I'm done. Peter and Peter on Barry Weiss. Who gives a shit about any of this shit? Why are we still talking about Jordan Peterson? Fuck you.
Well, that's fair.
Anyway, yeah. So should I read the rest?
I wanted to see how far you could get through it before you had a meltdown.
Barry Weiss is all I took, apparently.
Yeah, Barry Weiss is a good,
Which,
good
to be
point
fair,
where you should have a breakdown. So
Barry Weiss, Jesus.
Jordan Peterson famously is a guy who believes that lobster hierarchies should be a method of how we, kind of formulate how human society should also work, because lobsters have serotonin and humans also have serotonin, and since these two creatures have the same chemical in their systems, whether or not these chemicals interface the same way between these two species of animals, lobsters, and this is a completely conjecturalist, unproven garbage bullshit science. Lobsters have a hierarchy based off of serotonin, and it turns out that that's not true. Don't worry about that.
Chemical hierarchy.
Can I point out one?
No, you had your mental breakdown. Please don't strain yourself.
Which is okay. So
go ahead.
If what we are concerned with is the similarity of neurotransmitters, and that's the thing that defines whether or not things are similar,
right?
And yet we're obsessed with a Jungian psychologist way of viewing the world through everything being a metaphorical narrative representing something else. That would imply that you believe in an incredible amount of neuroplasticity, which allows you to invent non-real worlds which represent real truths, but also that the fact that you were next to serotonin once makes you a lobster.
Right.
And that doesn't fucking work. You kind of have to choose that people change over time and have that plasticity and, are people. Or you say they're lobsters. They're fancy ocean crabs. Which one do you think is more likely? Are we ocean crabs? Or do we vary somewhat?
I think the question you're asking me is, are we human or are we dancers?
Dancer. It's
Dancer,
singular.
sorry,
It's singular.
yes,
It's singular.
dancers, yeah.
Exactly. Like, are we human or are we lobster?
Yeah. It turns out
We're lobster.
probably human.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got it wrong. Anyway, so yeah, this shit sucks.
I'm not gonna make you read anymore.
So why? What are the reasons he's quitting? Then what are the reasons he's giving? Because he said it was a list.
Because
I lost.
well, he
Die. So it's about diversity and because people don't like him.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
That's
liberal.
for diversity, right? The Hollywood thing.
So the first thing, and you know, he makes a couple of legit points here and there,
Yeah.
where like academia is kind of fucked in a lot of ways.
The GRE is stupid.
Yeah.
Universities are bad.
Well,
but where he really fails is he doesn't like address any of the like actual problems with academia, and he just focuses on like they're letting too many brown women and or others into academia, and it's the white heterosexual man is actually suffering right now, despite the fact that they own everything. Kind of. And,
they won't call the girls I sleep with magna cum laude anymore, and now they call them highest distinction, which is an erasure of Western culture.
The erasure of my cum laude.
Magnum cum loudly, you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, basically,
fuck this.
The guy who
this is stupid,
and
I don't even want to do a podcast anymore. Just in general, I'm done.
Well,
I mean,
we'll revisit that next week.
We got two links left.
when the HR lady,
yeah. Reminds me of my debt.
Yes, reminds you of your contract obligations.
Yeah,
we'll revisit whether or not you want to do a podcast.
3,000 years in the Benzo Rehab gulag.
Yeah. Which is a socialist anarchist podcast.
Where we are, yeah. Barry Weiss's Common Sense website.
So interestingly, Jordan Peterson seems to have a lot of issues with the current hierarchy.
Barry Weiss's Common Sense website.
Yeah,
Barry Weiss's Common Sense
is
website.
Is like just the worst thing that could
She used to be at the Times.
And then
the paper of record, and then she fired herself.
Yeah.
So she could make a Common Sense website talking about how cool it is when nationalist Jews murder brown people.
Yep.
Because techno is cool. We love techno and pizzerias.
Preach, Barry Weiss.
I also love white phosphorus bombs dropped on civilians. Bulldozers pushing over your dog into the depths of hell.
So, Jordan Peterson, please don't. Just don't. Jordan Peterson clearly argues for hierarchy, and then now he's got a problem with hierarchy. I think the best quote I've ever found of Jordan Peterson is in this next link, which we can now go to, John.
Fuck, it happened. It finally happened. I spent take. That took. Fuck.
Was it the picture of Jordan Peterson?
It was the quote.
Oh, it was the quote.
The picture of the quote. I mean, he's got like the Twin Peaks Native American shit behind him, and that fucking quote is incredible. Can I do it? Can I do it? Because I spat all over your table in order.
No. I was hoping you would, but
God,
I wasn't expecting such a visceral response to this. So go ahead. This is a real Jordan Peterson quote. I verified it through his writings. So please.
The people who hold that our culture is an oppressive patriarchy, they don't want to admit that the current hierarchy might be prejudiced. Or sorry, I'm going to repeat one. I'm going to do this again. It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Just like because I'm very competent
from the top.
I think that's impossible now. But go ahead.
The people who hold that our culture is an oppressive patriarchy, they don't want to admit that the current hierarchy might be predicated on competence.
Dicks rule, y'all. Guys rule. Guys rule. It's guys night. It's guys night with JB Beep.
So, the hierarchy is good.
So
when it serves Jordan Peterson, and then when it maybe doesn't serve Jordan Peterson, the hierarchy is no longer good and no longer based on competence.
So I taught some argumentation seminars years ago, right? And one of the main things, honestly, I wasn't really very good at teaching back then, and so the main thing that we did, but it's still very useful, was that we would take phrases, either a quote from someone or just like a claim that someone's making, and we would just simplify it and reduce it until everyone was able to agree on the terms, right? Like, that's a really good first step in having an argument, a genuine one.
Yeah.
And so if we were to take this, we look at it and we try to reduce it as much as possible. What we would probably say is the people who hold that society is oppressively predicated upon men believe that this is so because they don't know men are great.
Right. Yes.
That was really sloppy. I would give myself a D for that, but it's still accurate.
No.
Like men are more competent than women, thereby they have control of culture. That's a real reduction of it. But, you know.
Right. So how does this hierarchy of competence, which Jordan Peterson, I mean, this quote kind of
always applied to Chili's for some reason.
This quote kind of lays it out, but Jordan Peterson's like basic understanding of hierarchy is that it's always based on competence.
Yeah.
And so
except for when it's a bad hierarchy, but we never know when that is until he says it.
Exactly. The problem here is that now hierarchy has said, Jordan Peterson, you're a bum ass, dork ass motherfucker.
It's true.
Your shit sucks, and we don't like you.
You
now he's saying, "Oh no, this is no longer predicated on competence. This is predicated on hating white straight men.
This is predicated on hating me, which has nothing to do with my incompetence."
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because competent clinical psychologists get addicted to benzos and get their demons exercised by Russian like nursing
several
home
problems with this competency like ranking, really. If we you know, maybe take like a, you know, some people say like a 40,000 foot view of things, maybe like a 40-foot view of things in Jordan Peterson's life, where we just go, hey, weren't you the guy that didn't know that benzos were addictive? As a clinical psychologist, you never heard that benzos were addictive, and then you had to be like taken to a Russian benzo rehab dungeon, which I've heard some people describe it as. Interesting name.
Well, it's a cascade of effects, right? Where so he is competent in one localized space in his studies.
Clean your room, bucko.
Right. And then he decides that he wants to branch off.
Yeah.
And I am at a point, even though I do have a tendency to think that everyone's a cynical fake rather than a true believer. And that seems to come up a lot here. But I do think that he was a true believer when it came to law C-17 or whatever the fuck. The one about pronoun usage.
Yeah.
And I think that he genuinely did think that people would be put in prison or fined or something. They'd get in trouble for using the wrong pronouns, which is just simply not how it works. But he decided he decided to apply his competence to spaces where it's not applicable in any way, shape, or form. And what I assume happened in his personal life is that he felt competent enough as a psychologist, despite being someone that probably, based on what he said in his books, and based on what I know about him as a Jungian and whatnot, probably wasn't, I mean, he's not a psychiatrist either, So probably not prescribing a lot of medication.
Hopefully not.
He allowed himself
Hopefully
to
not, yeah.
believe that.
Pretty
I mean,
sure
he
psychologists
number
can
one kind of
prescribe
didn't
medication
know
to
that much
dunces.
about this medication, but the one problem in this theory is that his PhD thesis was about alcoholism, so he knows about addiction rather well, but apparently not about benzos. But he didn't have a real focus on psychotherapeutic medication, right? And so someone who was his therapist, otherwise known as his therapist, determined, hey, here are some benzos, and he decided based on this weird competence hierarchy theory, I can believe you because you're my daddy now. And so it's like Dunning-Kruger is just like, it's making him airtight.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking him in the mouth and the pussy at the same time. And he just can't understand why. And
He
it
can't
must
escape it because his holes are fully aligned.
Yeah, and it must be because the world around him is incompetent, not because he has an extremely, as most academics have, focused way of understanding the world, and he's actually totally fucking incompetent about everything else.
Yep.
Which is the biggest problem with academics, is that they think, I understand one very specific thing, I know everything else now.
I can create a
It's my problem. frankly.
Unitarian theory of everything.
Yeah.
through this.
Well, that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
But that is why I have argued for and will continue to argue for, and I feel extremely strongly about this, the importance of interdisciplinary education.
No, without
And that all programs should be interdisciplinary. In fact, it's really funny because the Jesuits kind of do that, but they're also Jesuits.
Yeah.
So they fuck it up at the end. And in the middle and the beginning and all over the place. But at least they're kind of balanced while they're fucking everything up. And so maybe we should get to that. Anyway, that's my thing. Is that our last link?
Yep.
Fuck you guys. Good night.
No.
What?
Don't just cut it off like that, man. We gotta do.
Do we have a sign off?
Yeah,
we always do every time.
Well, we have like not just sign
and
off.
we have like things we have to say, like notes.
We fucked everything else up. So
yeah, we
John,
fucked up
look up a picture of your dick.
Don't do that.
Just look it up. Be like John's dick. Don't no.
John, this is live. We'll get banned from YouTube.
That would be so funny though.
It would be pretty funny, but
getting banned from
not
YouTube.
worth it.
We can just go back to the SoundCloud days. Who gives a shit? Fuck you, YouTube, John's dick.
Dorian is drunk. I'm also drunk, but somehow
I'm a little drunk. I don't know. I'm in a decent mood. Which is rare.
Is that code for drunk? I'm drunk.
That's part of it. Yeah, it's definitely part of it.
Look, the thing is, the Benzo Rehab dungeon will and always will be. Or is and always will be.
It will be what, Michael?
Is and always will be a free broadcast. We love you very much, viewer and listener, and you don't ever have to pay for this. However, if you would like to help support this, shut up, man. I'm in the middle of a thing. If you would like to support this project, please go to patreon.com/BenzoRehabDungeon. Anything as much as 50 cents will help feed me for another day. I'm fat. Don't worry about it.
Actually, it's funny because he doesn't spend any of this on his food. He spends it on things like microphones.
Yeah.
Because he's lying to you. He doesn't spend it on himself.
Shut up.
He's some piece of shit. That
don't
does
tell
it
the people
for
that
podcast.
I'm genuine.
He's
Fuck
a good
off.
guy.
That's all I have for now. I'm actually, again, I keep saying this, really actually working on the long form video essays. Writing a huge piece for Operations, as we talked about before. I forget what their Instagram handle
Operaciones dot publication, I think.
Yes, I think that's it. Kind of working on a huge piece for them about architecture.
Ditto.
Will be released separate of that, but very excited to have this publisher alongside us. Dorian, please, your turn.
Same thing there. Again, like I've said 1,000 times now, we're entering into the more politically oriented portion of the workshop for the next month and a half. So we're talking about Deleuze and Guattari, Kafka towards a minor literature tomorrow morning. If anyone's interested, feel free to just come by, lurk, watch, whatever. Otherwise, we're talking about Fanon, Preciado, a few others, some existentialism even, which I'm generally not big on. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing all that. So patreon.com/Truncata, TRUNCATA, or else just message Mike or myself and we'll give you a link. And again, we invite lurkers. You don't have to say anything, just hang out. Otherwise, I'm gonna be recording that schizotopia.net same thing on Instagram episode about all the Matrix movies this weekend. So check them out. And like we gave a shout out to early in the episode, shout out to the Bringing Down the Grindhouse podcast. Also very easy to find on Instagram and elsewhere.
Which I think I'm going to be doing some episodes
Indeed.
with in the near future.
Yeah. Also probably about Matrix stuff. So we'll have a good couple of partner episodes where we disagree.
I refuse to have a Matrix episode without fighting you on it.
Okay.
But
we'll let them know that we're going to be on it.
Yeah, the episodes that I currently have kind of like in the works are about like how reviewers work, how a lot of media is kind of just like the same thing, just kind of like rehashed. Because it hits all the right notes, and
this all sounds like a Matrix thing.
Yeah, there's some things in there, of course, but when we have the real fight about the Matrix,
yeah, it'll be more specific.
Yeah, we'll let you know, and it'll be me punching Dorian in the rectum, probably, not even just verbally, probably physically,
and it'll be me noting that he's doing it.
Yeah,
because I met.
He's punching me in the fucking rectum
and that
right
makes
now.
It okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so shout outs to both those podcasts. Check out their episodes on witches, scary stories to tell in the dark, and what is the theory? The Nick Land Hyperstition for Bringing Down the Grindhouse, which I was on, and then check out Schizotopia's episodes on Nick Land and Lovecraft, as well as their episode on Bataille. Both of those are things that I was on, and we're excited about them. Also, quick shout out to 8 Plates, who we've both been hanging out with online a lot and loving.
Yeah, we gotta do another Sunday fun day.
We do. We really need to bring on another a food podcast with 8 Plates and Pee-wee. Both some of my favorite internet people. And again, check out the episodes that we've done with them.
Also, real quick, not to keep extending this end portion, but we're gonna do another religious deconstruction episode this Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you doing there?
Jacob's back. We don't have a specified topic.
Jacob's
we
back.
have a couple of topics that we want to discuss. Maybe some great man theory is going to slip its way in there.
Oh yeah.
The religious deconstruction episodes are coming back.
They're coming back, y'all.
Because I can't shut up is most of the problem.
We get it.
So let's go ahead and truly sign off. As always, dear viewer, dear listener, we love you. Please take your medicine.
Please take